Alright.
I gotta look through, like, more. There's, like, a lot that's, like, released since, but I've been very, like, Vocaloid-centric. Because Make Expo happened, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. What we are going to talk about, I guess, I'll start it off. Hi, everyone.
What's
How's
happening?
it going? What is it, party people?
Yeah,
Party
what's
people.
happening, party people?
Uh, so life sucks, and we deal with it. People suck, and
Life's a
we're
bitch
gonna
and
go
then you
into
die.
life's a bitch, and then you die. Exactly. Well, so I guess I'll start it off with, like, I guess the shortest topic, Poke Rogue. This beloved roguelike that people have been playing, and, like, everybody loves it and stuff, is really good. I really want to try it, and I probably will still try it. Considering the fact that the mod team for that game and the dev team for that game is changing. The lead major dev stepped down because they were I think he is he wants to commit his life to Jesus Christ, which is like, sure, whatever. If you believe, your beliefs are your beliefs. Unfortunately, those beliefs come with what is usually the stereotypical bigotry. There's a lot of transphobia that was going on in that Discord, and, like, you know, linked with that is, of course, homophobia, to the point where the mod team made an announcement along the lines of, you know, this server is a community based around a Pokemon fan game. There is no world where we should be discussing these hard-hitting topics with people who vary in age from 13 to 30 and beyond. Children could be exposed to these ideologies. And they said this with their whole chest. So, and there was hints of it in the actual game too, which is what was ridiculous. Here, I can post this in chat so you can bring it up if you want. This is, like, their first post. So, Gardevoir, right? Gardevoir, kind of like a bit of, like, a Poke bait, whatever, ladylike. I love Gardevoir. I love Mega Gardevoir's fucking big ball gown. You know, very, like, usually, like, femme-coded, I would say.
Yeah.
Male Carlia, however, can evolve into Gardevoir, and can still evolve into Gardevoir. They removed that. They also gave genderless Pokemon like Magnezone and Metagross genders, in a stance against non-binary.
Boo.
Which is really fucking stupid when you think of the fact that they're genderless because they're automatons.
Yeah.
Even, like, legendaries are majority of legendaries are genderless just because they're not breedable. And, like, they're legendaries. They're basically akin to Pokemon gods, and gods are beyond gender.
Robots.
Unless it's Christianity, because then it's he, him.
The moral of the story is that you can't, as much as I would try, I cannot get a robot pregnant. As hard as I try.
Exactly. Like, there are some exceptions, like with Ditto, right? Ditto's the only way you can do that.
Yeah.
Which is... whatever, it makes game mechanics wise, thank you, because how else are we supposed to get, like, our perfect IV shiny Beldum, right?
Let's hear it for
it works. But it's not Pokemon. It's been a thing since before Pokemon had gender neutral options, which is new to... is it Gen 8 or Gen 9 that, like, you don't pick a gender, you just pick hair?
Gen 8... Gen 7, I think, is, like, the Alolan games. I think it was when they started doing the, like, oh, here's 8 preset faces. It's like, here's 8 preset faces, when it's really just, like, skin tone and hair is what you're picking.
Yeah, I think Gen 9 is the first true game without are you a boy or a girl. Even though they do have, like, boy preset and girl preset, you can mix and match to make something look a little more ambiguous, which is very good.
Depending on the face you pick at the beginning, it still uses binary gendered pronouns, but...
yeah, which is, like... hard to get around, but I guess not that hard to get around at the same time. I don't know. They're doing their best, right? Like, they're doing their best. They're catching up. They're almost there, right? Anyway, genderless Pokemon. Since breeding has been introduced into Pokemon in Gen 2, which was, like, before a lot of this non-binary accommodation was even really, you know, a thing, like, back in the fucking 1999, right? Like, oh boy. genderless Pokemon were a thing, and not breedable Pokemon were a thing, or only breedable by Ditto was a thing. So this isn't so like we know that genderless Pokemon isn't a non-binary statement by the Pokemon Company. You know what I mean? This isn't to say something like negative against non-binary. Trust me, like we're all very, very Rainbow Mafia, Alphabet Mafia, like friendly here. Like this is just like based facts. Oh, I didn't even put up my go live. Stupid.
We are the Alphabet Mafia. So if we weren't,
yeah, exactly. Like we're both gender fluid. I'm pan.
I'm also pan.
You know, like yeah. So there we go.
We're basically the same person.
Yeah. That's it, right?
We're basically the same person. Our whole personality is our gender identity and our sexuality. That's it.
Actually, no, my whole personality is memes. I need a new one. Hi! Yeah. Hi, Mafia Mom!
Hey, Mafia Mom!
But yeah, so to catch you up, yeah, basically the Poker Rogue League dev because no, they stepped down, was a religious zealot who was very anti anything that a lot of Christian people are against, like a lot of like the super nutty ones. This isn't to say all Christian people are like this, because I know that isn't the fact. It's kind of like the all men thing. If it's not you, we're not talking about you, and just know we're not talking about you. We're just generalizing for the sake of not being too wordy. Anyway, so that was the whole fucking like discourse, and it was to the point where like mods were deleting pro-trans comments, and like people who were saying, well, you know what, that's not okay. That's like, you know, bigotry. They were deleting that shit, but they weren't deleting slurs, like the T slur. People were like fully adding people in their Discord and like saying the T slur at people, and the mods were letting it go. But if people were trying to go against that, they were deleting that shit, right? And trying to police that shit. So they weren't policing bigotry, and they were policing people who were trying to be a little more politically correct. However, on the other hand, and this is a post, I'm not going to read the whole thing out loud, but I will post it in chat. Oh, and a new thing that we have in the Discord is we do have podcast notes, so a lot of the resources that we are quoting will be made available in the Discord, so make sure you join up if you want to like get your hands on that stuff later, especially if you're coming from YouTube. But here is a link to a newer post, because the mod team and dev team has been shuffling around a lot because there's been a lot of discourse over this, even amongst themselves, and the majority of people who are now taking over the project are starting to be more inclusive and more politically correct and more like, you know what, like, we don't identify with that shit, we're here for the game, we want to be inclusive, we don't agree with like anti-LGBT stuff, and so there's like a much bigger statement that they put out that kind of like in an attempt to rectify the actions of their past mods, which is good. So it's still kind of an ongoing situation. The game is completely free to play anyway, so I don't think by playing it that you're supporting transphobia, honestly, because it is like a free project that they don't really make money off of outside of maybe donations, but that's like donos.
Do we think...
So if you're not donating and you're playing, you're perfectly fine and in the clear.
Do we think now that they're taking the time to, or now that they have figured out that a subsect of the dev team was transphobic and like sneaking in this sort of transphobic, not messaging, but like just the, yo dude, what's going on? Sneaking in like the transphobic stuff, like making gendered versions of non-gendered Pokemons, the Gardevoir Gallade stuff. Do we think they're gonna reverse that? Like, now that the dev
maybe.
team... Yeah. Is there gonna
I feel like it's like a lot of code that they would have to like go through, and I don't even know if there's breeding in the game. So outside of the Gardevoir thing, which mechanically could be a thing because you'd want the fairy type over the fighting type in some instances, I think that would be important. If anything, I don't know if it would be harder to take away the genders or to just make a track not work on genderless Pokemon again. I don't know, because I don't know shit about coding.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, in my opinion, like, yeah, it's kind of like sus that they did that shit, but if it's going to be a lot of work to remove it, as long as you make it mechanically accurate to the original games, and we know that like the current dev team isn't against that shit, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? Like,
yeah. Like,
yeah,
it's so wild to me because both sides of this argument were using the, like, it's Pokemon, not excuse, but they're both using it's Pokemon in their arguments. Like, the transphobic people were like, it's Pokemon, there shouldn't be a political talk in Pokemon. First of all, just existing shouldn't be political. People should just be allowed to exist, so that argument is...
Be allowed to be who you are as long as you don't do terrible things to children.
Yes. So the dev team is like, it's Pokemon, and the transphobic people are like, it's Pokemon, and the sensible, like, pro-trans people were like, you're right, it's Pokemon. Pokemon is a welcoming environment for everybody. You would be amazed how many people have figured out that gender is a spectrum because of Pokemon.
Right?
Looking at Rika from the most recent from Scarvi, looking at Rika like, do I want her or do I want to be her?
I know, right? That's like, I'm not tall enough, so I don't think I could pull it off. But I mean,
I'm too white.
She's still she's not like as perfect as me. So
I think she
I can't remember. Do they use they them pronouns for Rika? I think they still use she her.
Yeah, I don't think
she's very like androgynous.
Oh yeah, very androgynous. I don't think there's been a single non-binary. There has been a trans character in Pokemon, but not a, strictly speaking, they/them non-binary.
Leaving James out. James is just everyone's favorite drag queen.
Yes. No, there was a somewhere in one of the battle towers or something. I don't remember the generation specifically, but there was like after beating it twice, like in the rotation of like all these different trainers and stuff you can fight, you know, the odds of finding this person at this particular time is like crazy, but you can find this woman and she's like, it's very sneaky and like, can you believe it? Like this time last year I was a black belt. And the sneaky thing there is her designation. Yeah, right. Her designation is like Beauty Celine or something, and beauties are only women, and black belts is a trainer type that is only men in Pokemon. So
there is like kind of like a lot of stuff that like got changed with some Pokemon. Like there's actually sprite differences in the second generation. There's like, I can't remember the name of the sprite, but there's one of them that was like praying. Oh, the monks. There's one of them that was like praying, and instead they changed the sprite to be crossing the arms.
Yeah.
And then there's I think like one of the like, not Hex Maniac, but like the kind of sprites that you would find in like Lavender Town. Like those women, the elderly women, where they had prayer beads, and those got removed. It's like prayer beads isn't even that. Cause like it is very religious, but at the same time, it's like most kids from North America aren't going to know what prayer beads are.
But there's prayer beads across like different
genders and stuff like that.
Well, across different religions. Those are different kinds of beads that are used across genders. Okay.
I
finally got one in. Let's go.
Oops.
No, but I mean, like, because they're obviously meant to be, like, Shinto prayer beads, right? Like, very traditional, like, Japanese... Buddhism. Yeah. But, like, if you're bringing it to the West, Catholicism has rosary beads, so, like, it's not that hard to... I know it's like, oh, no, we don't want religion in our games, but, like, it's just kind of, like, it's an aesthetic choice. Like, even people, like... I don't think Madonna's super religious, but there was an era where she made, like, rosaries and crosses her whole aesthetic.
Yeah. That feels very Nomura.
I don't know what that means.
You just focus really fucking hard on one specific thing and make that the aesthetic for a while. So, like, what Nomura had, like, a phase with belts. and so we got Lulu. And then Nomura had a phase with... It was Nomura, right? Yeah, it's Nomura. And then Plaid, which showed up in KH3 and Neo Tui.
Oh, okay. I thought the way that you were saying it, it sounded like just a trend and stuff. You're talking about Tetsuya Nomura.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I do know the belts and the zippers, like all of the.
Oh yeah, zippers too.
That shit is specifically because he's like trial by fire testing the development team. He's trying to be like,
he's been on Plaid for a while though.
But I mean, like, for the belts and stuff, he's like, how good of a coder are you? I'm gonna put 8 belts on this guy, and I want all of them to have physics. How good of a coder are you?
Oh my lord.
So yeah, he just hates his developers. Yeah, no, I was playing through Kingdom Hearts, a different Kingdom Hearts save off stream. I've been playing it a bunch. I'm falling back into it, and it's bad. But my partner doesn't really know a lot about Kingdom Hearts, and she was like, I just noticed Donald's dumb fucking hat with all the zippers. And I'm like, oh no, babe. That's one zipper, like, spiraling up the hat. You've been tricked. It's so dumb. And then the zippers that don't even do anything. It's like, if I unzip this, it's just gonna be a piece of fabric that falls off. It's not even gonna, like, unzip a hood. Like, it's not gonna unzip the jacket. It's like 2 zippers on either side offset. If I unzip them both, this is just gonna be a vertical line of fabric that falls off.
So, as a raver who has worn and had, like, known lots of people with trip pants, which is spelled TRIPP, really cool fucking pants. They have a bunch of useless fucking zippers. So what they usually do in those instances is they actually just put fabric behind the zipper so that you zip it and there's just nothing but fabric. Her pants are really fucking cool. I love them. I still want a pair. I still fucking want a pair of trip pants.
Alright, so do we have anything else to say on
Poke Rogue?
On the bigotry, yeah?
Like, so the situation is technically getting better now. Was to the point where the artist who did a lot of, like, the sprite work for Poke Rogue actually came out and said, hi, I just got word of whatever's been going on with the Poke Rogue dev team and thought I'd clarify that I'm by no means involved with them, nor have I been aware of what their beliefs were. I only worked on designs and pixel art, just so you know I'm LGBTQ plus supporter and I always will be. So, like, that's kind of, like, how bad the discourse, like, blew up in, like, a day or two. But yeah, the situation is currently getting better. Again, you can still play the game and not be considered a transphobe because it is not like they're making money off of your click. Mm-hmm. So.
It just feels weird, like, it feels like, oh, you should be vetting people, you know, you should be making sure there aren't transphobes, but, like, also, how do you just slide that into a job interview? Are you just, like, is part of that just like, by the way, we are an all-inclusive dev team, you know, we are an LGBTQIA plus inclusive dev team, you know, we're pro, you know, all of these things. If any of that is a deal breaker for you, is that something that should be included with, like, any job interview? I've never had to hire people before, so... I've never been asked those questions at a job interview, because it's like, you want to have faith in people that they're not shitty, but
I feel like if it's like a personal business or something like smaller where it's a lot easier to regulate that, then I would say you could make that a part of your policy. When it comes to bigger companies, it's going to, like, for example, Lush is a very, very, very inclusive company. They will hire people with disabilities, even if you let like their interviewers know during the interview. Like, when I interviewed, I said, like, you know, what's something you're trying to overcome? It's like, I do have a lot of social anxiety, you know, and, like, difficulty, like, communicating with big crowds of people that I don't know. Outside of, like, parties, because I know everyone's there for the same thing, right? So I usually do better in, like, a setting where I know we can just talk about anime or talk about, like, rave music. But yeah, I told them this, and then they put me on one of the smaller teams within the company, and, like, you know, they're very accommodating to a lot of other people as well, and they even include, like, in their full-time benefits, they include therapy. right?
No.
And like you can just like pick therapy and stuff like that. And this was like in 2018, before a lot of companies were even willing to do that. They'd been doing it for a while, from what I remember. However, at one point I got moved to the bath bomb department, and the bath bomb department, like, you know, it's good, but you can't regulate, because you can't regulate everybody that's there. So there was an old white gay man who had what the fuck do you call it when you're like super shaky and you can't stay steady?
Parkinson's?
Yeah, that. And like the older ladies, they were foreign, I will say, but like, because like sometimes older foreign people are a little like less inclusive for stuff like that, but like, they would constantly like bully him and get him to like hold the trays of bath bombs to put on the rack, even though he had like Parkinson's and stuff like that, and then laugh at him if they all fell on the floor and shit, because then some of them would get broken and ruined, and then they'd all blame him. There was like some people who were, I think, like either Middle Eastern or South Asian, and they were bullying this black girl and refusing to share the glitter, even though all of the materials that you're supposed to use at the table is for everybody, right? And like just refusing to share the materials and stuff like that with her. There were some people who like refused to understand they them pronouns. Admittedly, some of them were like, you know, foreign and not very good at English, or like, you know, that concept just wasn't really around in like their culture because they were from like, you know, like Eastern Europe or something like that.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like one of them was really, really nice, just didn't understand. So it's just like, you know what? Okay, yeah, we get it, right? So it's really hard to regulate the people, including when, like, especially when you get, like, a lot of us were seasonal, right? So, like, for Christmas and stuff like that, they hire a whole bunch of seasonal people because it's super fucking busy, because everybody's buying their girlfriend's bath bombs and shit. So, it's a company where, like, at the core, they do attempt to be very inclusive, but again, like, when you, the more people you have and the bigger it gets, it's harder to regulate every single person. Right?
For sure, yeah.
So there's a lot of internal issues at the base level, but as for like management does like try. You know, they try to be like very inclusive, and they try to be very like aware of like people's like, you know, physical limits, mental limits, and like accommodation and shit. So yeah. Sorry, that was a long-winded ramble, but yeah.
No.
Some corporals do try, but like when it gets to an individual level, it's very hard.
Yeah, when it comes down to an individual level, especially on an internal team, like, you know, at Lush or here with PokeRogue, it's like, who do you go to at that point? Because like, if it's a small team like this, I'm assuming they don't have an HR department, because they're not making money off it. Nobody's paid to work on this, right? It's all it's fan made.
Exactly. So it's like, and like sometimes like, you know, the discussion just never comes up because it's just like, hey, we're all just gonna work on fucking Pokemon. And like the artist said, like, this was never something that ever came up and I didn't know. So like they had to like make a statement about it. I'm
just happy that the pro trans people won this one. You know, it wasn't like all of a sudden all the transphobes were pushing out the pro Alphabet Mafia people.
Allies and everything, yeah. So they are working on rectifying the situation internally, and they are working on being more inclusive. I do not know if they're going to be changing the game, but, you know, I would say just keep an eye on, I guess, Twitter. I don't usually recommend Twitter because it's a cesspool, but like Twitter is where I found all of these updates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There is also technically, like, if anybody wants to get into like the heart of the situation, there's this post which has a link to a Google Doc that has a fuckload of screenshots. However, now that we know that like this is just if you want the drama, if you want the deeper tea, there's a Google Doc of a whole bunch of screenshots from the PokeRogue Discord where is just like all of that nasty shit.
I'm not gonna lie.
But they are working on rectifying the situation, so I wouldn't, you know, take this to represent what they are trying to be now.
For sure, Trans. It's a badass name, even though it's supposed to be mean. Oh, it's so fun. It's
I've only ever heard Alphabet Mafia used by people who are LGBT, so that's why I use it.
Yeah,
like that's where I got the term, is from like a lot of like LGBT people, like people at like Toronto Pride will like say it like all the time. Alphabet Mafia go, like, you know what I mean?
So I will say that that Google Doc, I said I was gonna read all of it. I opened it up, saw some slurs, and I was like, I think I get the gist.
Yeah.
These are bad people.
Yeah.
So I guess trigger warning for that Google Doc, linked in the link, but
Yeah. I mean, if you were in that Discord, but like, or like, you know, there could be people in there that like you may know that may have been saying that shit, so if you really care to, you can go through it, look at the usernames, and be like, I know this person, I'm going to block them now.
Oh, that's fair.
But, like,
I didn't even...
That's like a thing you could do if you wanted. But, you know, it's basically just if anybody wants like the deep dark trenches of it, there's a Google Doc there that has like a whole bunch of like screenshots and info. But yeah, I think that should be it for Pokerogue.
Let's do something fun here. I'm just gonna close this tab with this screenshot on it. I'm just gonna close this tab and we'll see what opens up. Which of these tabs opens up, and that's what yeah, let's see what we're talking about next. After calling the next big battlefield, oh boy.
Oh boy.
EA is back at it again. So this is something that EA has talked about and something that they've been doing a little bit every now and then, especially in their sports games. Like, it's not uncommon if you're playing FIFA or something, where there'll be ads for real companies on like where ads normally are, like at the edges of the pitch and stuff, you know, for like a football game or something. Totally not uncommon for there to be like real ads there, and we all remember like ad placement. This wasn't an EA game, but the sponsorship between Monster Energy drink and Death Stranding. Like, do you not know about this?
No.
Norman Reedus,
and the Funky Fetus.
Yeah, so this was a huge part of the marketing. He would just slam Monster Energy drinks in the game. Hang on, let's see if I can...
my god. Wait, no, that's like cup ramen in Final Fantasy 15.
Hang on.
There's literally like a whole quest to get a giant egg just so you can make the perfect, like, cup noodle. Like, literally, like, branded cup noodle. There's a branded cup noodle truck where you can buy cup noodles, like, in Final Fantasy 15. It's a really, like, cute quest, though. Gladio just really likes fucking cup ramen.
Yeah, so, see if I can blow up this. No, get out of here, Polygon.com. Here we go. So this is a real screenshot from in the game.
And hurl the rest of it, yeah. Oh.
This is a real screenshot.
I mean, I drink Monster, so I'm not that... I can't really say much anyway.
I was literally about to reach for it, but like today I'm drinking Celsius, not Monster. But 2 sides of it, Respawn and the...
Yeah, the rest of it.
For real. So, EA's CEO, hang on, let me see if I can find his fucking name. Andrew Wilson, who is one of the biggest Wilsons in the world. He keeps talking about... It's like, oh, we need to find ways to grow our brand, and we want to find new ways to interact with our burgeoning audience. And my response to that, as a player, as somebody who has enjoyed EA games in the past, is make more games. Make more games and make them accessible to an audience. If you want an audience, make things for them. Not put ads in games that we're already paying for.
Yeah.
So drink about...
Mizuki!
14 monsters a day? Is that the guy who wanted to charge players per bullet? I believe so.
Yeah, no.
For Battlefield.
No, wasn't that the guy who moved on to Unity?
Yes, okay, no, you're right. The guy who...
It was, yeah, because this was way back.
Yeah, no, the guy... You're right, the guy who fucked up Unity last year, he's the guy who wanted to charge players per bullet. So yeah, he will say things like advertising as an opportunity to be a meaningful driver of growth for us. That is not out of context. That is 100%. There's a quote later. So this is, oh, did I just click a fucking, no, I didn't. I don't want to go to another fucking... Okay, there we go. So this is via Games Radar by Consarin. This is from May 11th, and I am just going to drop this article in the chat if people want to take a look.
While you're talking, I'm gonna go and copy the links and put them in podcast resources.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, his plan, what he essentially wants to do is to charge people full price for a game. So, you know how we're paying $70 for a brand new game now? And we'll get into some worse pricing later in terms of what games are doing. There's some dog shit out there. But like, yeah, here's an example of something that they did. 2020's UFC 4 included full screen ads for the Amazon TV show The Boys. Like,
it was a good show. Watch that show. Shit, fuck. I'm not getting paid. I'm not sponsored.
It's not unreasonable for there to be ads in games. And it's like, if I'm playing like a GTA and they put Base The Boys is awesome, I will give it another chance.
Like, once you get past the first 2 episodes, it gets a little less vulgar, a little more meaty, if that makes sense. It'll still be very vulgar and very graphic, okay. But like, a lot of like the little sexual shock factor things, like the very, very like this tall person diving into the girl's vagina, it moves past that by the end of the 2nd episode. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, besides the point. So it's not uncommon, like if I'm playing GTA 5, I look up at a billboard and it just said it just said Beats by Dre. I'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes me kind of believe the world I'm living in, if it has real brands in there.
Yeah, it works for like GTA or something.
I hate constant advertising, you know, that constant subliminal, like, if I'm playing GTA and a character is sipping a Coke through an entire cutscene. That's where I start drawing the line. It's like, that didn't need to be there. You're just trying to push apparently there's been some shit in a lot of
I feel like it depends on how subtle it is, honestly, for that, because like if they're just drinking a drink and they're like Coca-Cola exists in that universe, sure, fine, go for it, whatever. But if it's like very like in your face as they're drinking it through the scene, then yeah, it's just like, I don't like Coke anyway, get out of here.
Well, here's my question. Did it need to be there at all? Did they have to be drinking something? Or if it's just a conversation? Like, what if like while we're talking, I'm constantly like this, just like as we're talking, I just have my fucking Celsius can.
Yeah, like, see, that's what I mean though. Shop. Like, if it is like that sort of constant thing, I do get it. But if they just happen to like, you know, pick up a can off the thing, take a sip, put it down, continue conversation, and it happens to be Coca-Cola, I think that's okay. If it's like, yeah, as in your face as you described, then fine. Yeah, no, fuck that. That's a bit much.
But with what they're doing with like the UFC thing, it was a full screen ad, like right in the middle of a fake UFC match, like between rounds or whatever. I don't know. I don't watch UFC. There would just be a full screen ad in your face of "Watch The Boys," and then it would go back to your video game, which is awful to me. Get out of here. Remember when we
It's good.
Remember when we would just buy a video game and it didn't even need like a day 1 patch? You would just put the game in your machine, and whether it was bugged or not, you just played it.
In the defense, at least they can fix the shit that their playtesters didn't find. But
yes.
At the same time, they had more care into the release of these games because they couldn't do that.
I agree with that, Arrow. Sorry, just looking at the chat real quick. I agree with that, Green Arrow. It's, in my opinion, it's just more so, there's degrees to this in terms of putting... Okay, bottom line, I think we should just say, like, before this goes any further, I am against all kinds of advertising in video games like this. I think, you know, a lot of advertising,
sorry.
Like, if I, I don't mind cross promotion, where it's like, oh, if you buy this Mountain Dew, you'll get a code for points in Halo or whatever it is. Like, yeah, sure, gamers love their Mountain Don't. I get it. But
Mountain Dew me.
exactly. Wait, no. No. But my issue is when EA is such a huge fucking company. This is really the crux of my issue. EA is such a huge fucking company. Why do they need additional ad revenue? Are their games tanking this bad? Are they sinking millions into just... Because I thought people fucking played these. I thought, like, Battlefield... In my brain, like, Battlefield was a one-to-one contender with Call of Duty. Like, it's like, yeah... all of the, like, all these, like, first-person shooter live service games, you know? Because, like, I remember when Battlefield 1 came out, and it was like, oh, this is the most people you can have in a server for, you know, a first-person shooter. It's so good, so realistic. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I feel like, looking in from the outside, Battlefield seems to be very, like, robust in the fact that you can fly a plane and, like, drive a tank and shit, too. So I feel like that's something that would set it apart from other FPS games. Like, outside of, like, I guess, like, I don't know what you can do in PUBG, but I know you can drive, like, a car in Fortnite, but I feel like that doesn't really matter because it's Fortnite.
Yeah, it's fucking Fortnite. Nothing doing bad. This one, the yacht full of coat. 100%. I think this is 100%. The shareholders want us to expand because shareholders want more money. I think this is 100% people at the top, like, how could we milk them for more? We're already...
I feel like this is... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's like, the game is, you know, the game is selling well, and it's paying our developers, and it's, you know, making back the money that we're spending on it. But what about me? What if I want more? And it's such a fucking... It's such a nightmare. Let me see if I can find it. Go ahead. I think
people. I feel like this is also a good time to bring up, like, since they're like a lot of companies and stuff like that are actively pursuing this money grubbing stuff. It's a good time to bring up the COVID thing that you mentioned.
Yes. Okay. I think
because that could be one of the like actual explainable reasons that isn't just rich people being rich, eat the rich, yada yada.
So I'm just gonna, this is just one of the sources that I have for, but I'm just gonna drop this in the chat as well. So this is something that I don't think a lot of people have really brought up or really talked about. It has always been in the forefront of taking monetization too far, for sure. I would argue Activision, because Activision does this thing sometimes where they'll release a game that doesn't have monetization, get really good reviews on the game, and then put monetization in it.
Yeah. They did that with, I almost said Crack Team Racing.
Crunk Team Go Speedy.
Crunk Team Go Speedy, yeah, that game. The EA was also, like, at the forefront of the, like, you know the bear meme where it's just, like, got, like the ears for the bear, or, like, DLC that costs, like, this much and that much and all that stuff? There's a whole bunch of those, like, DLC memes. I'll see if I can find one.
Oh my god. Yeah, okay, but back to this. Crash Team Racing, Crack Team Racing, same thing. So something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about enough in this space, and the data is definitely there by this point, given that we're a couple years out of the worst of COVID-19.
Not the same one, but it's one.
So the pandemic was one of the best things to happen for the gaming market in like a decade. What I mean by that is when lockdown happened and everybody was inside, people had more time because they weren't commuting. They were able to have a better work life, home life balance. You know, like if you worked, we'll say like data entry. If you had a data entry job, you could just have like your work laptop on your lap, just doing some stuff. And if you're waiting for more numbers to come in to put in, you're just playing something You know,
in the background.
in the background, yeah. Gaming gaming fucking skyrocketed when we were all working from home. I wasn't, but
all of the people who actually touched grass needed a hobby that didn't involve touching grass because you weren't allowed to touch grass.
So
to put it in gamer terms, gamer derogatory.
So, got my fucking train of thought. Yeah, basically across the board, like globally, the numbers skyrocketed for gaming, which is why, like, when the PlayStation came out, what, the first year of COVID, 2020? Because it started in 2019.
PS5?
Yeah, PS5 and the Xbox Series.
Yeah, that was, I think, 2020 or 2021.
Something like that. Like, it happened, it came out during lockdown, and scalpers...
it felt like a fever dream because, like, everybody just bought the shit out of them, and there was, like, low supply to go around to begin with, because this was also in the height of crypto farming. So there wasn't a lot of microchips to go around. Yeah,
there was already a shortage because of the crypto mining. People were buying them because we're home. Chip shortage, scalpers. Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to bring up is people who are in the market and in the resale market saw that gaming was in a boom, so they bought up all the new consoles to sell at a profit. But COVID, the short term is that a bunch of big companies were making more money. So and this is something we'll get into later with the likes of like Xbox and PlayStation, larger, first party companies started buying up a bunch of smaller companies because this new skyrocket in revenue allowed them to do so. They had the cash flow to purchase a lot of these smaller companies, and now what we're seeing is the market deflating. I'm not going to say the bubble has burst, but we're starting to go back to at least the market is going back to a level of normalcy. The issue with that is now they're no longer hitting, they're starting to see a drop off. They're starting to see budgetary quarters go into the red because we're not making COVID money anymore. So that's why last year was terrible for layoffs across the board for tons of companies. Number gets smaller, exactly.
This is also compounded with things like recession, things like people losing their jobs, things with people like long COVID where they can't work anymore. So a lot of the aftermath of the pandemic itself, and not just like the increase in sales of video games, is also impacting it. So there's just like a lot of shit across the board everywhere. That's just like making shit look really bad in 2024 for them.
Yeah, and last year I think was the beginning of that with all those layoffs. And we were talking about this during the Game Awards where Jeff Keighley was like, wasn't this year great for games? It's like, yeah, but bad for the people making them.
Yeah.
But basically, this is just one of the articles that I brought up. I've read a couple, but this was just the first one I could find again to illustrate my example, or at least to help back up what I'm talking about here. Basically, we are starting to hit this point going back to normalcy with the numbers, and so we're getting layoffs from companies. We'll be talking about the Xbox closures in a bit, but these companies cannot sustain numbers that were inflated by things out of their control. These numbers were inflated because of a global pandemic that killed millions. Like, it's... Was it millions? Did we finally... I legitimately...
Yeah. Especially when you consider that there was a lot of, lower income countries where their leaders wouldn't take it seriously. I do believe that Brazil was one of them, and Brazil is already a really poor area where they were just letting people die and die and die.
Yeah.
And because they don't have the money for a more robust healthcare system, I don't know if healthcare is free in Brazil or not, but they don't have the money for a more robust enough healthcare system to deal with the amount of people who were getting sick. So there's just fields where they would bury bodies and shit like that because they were losing them. There's also places that were overcrowded, like India, where it was very hard to avoid the pandemic. And he also had, I think there was like a video of like, I think there were first responders, EMS or whatever, like ambulance drivers that like stopped while they were transporting a COVID-19 patient to like get a drink from a stall or some shit like that.
Oh my god.
So there's just like a whole bunch of like, there's like a whole bunch of stuff like peppered everywhere.
Basically, my final thoughts on part of that is, I think this putting ads in AAA games. First of all, it's kind of been proven that if people are vocal enough, we can reverse this. We can let big companies know that this is a bad idea. We just have to be vocal about it. We have to be able to speak up for things that matter. And in the instance of being a gamer derogatory, me, you know, this is something that matters. You know, obviously there's like, it's video games, and as much as we love video games, there are things that matter even more, like, you know, speaking out against transphobia, like in the last thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
That is, I think, objectively
against racism.
Yeah, but just the other thing I wanted to talk about in this headline is Call of Battlefield, another tremendous live service game. Fucking stop it with the live service games. Nobody really likes these. All of them are just trying to be the one game you play. It's like, we have 3 years of content planned. Yeah, but you're gonna do 1 year, it's gonna drop off, and you're gonna drop a new Battlefield game next year. We don't care. Alright, I'm done talking about this. Fuck
yeah, so
Andrew.
Speaking of both live service and bigotry.
Fuck Andrew Wilson.
Andrew. You said he was the biggest Wilson, and my thought was just like, so is he just a giant volleyball?
No, I meant as a double meaning for a cock and balls, a Wilson.
Oh. Hey, Wilson is a cock and balls?
At least a cock.
Like Willie. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, Willie Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson.
Next time I see a dick, I'm gonna be like, nice Wilson you have there.
Wilson is
Yes.
Wilson is its government name. How dare you? Wait, Wilson. Wilson can mean cock and ball. It can. It can when I make it so.
Chin chin. I hope we don't have Japanese viewers. Oops. Okay. Moving on from the penis talk. Otherwise, I won't stop. So speaking of dicks, people on the internet are like totally dicks. Yasuke and Creed. So, you know, obviously anytime there's a black protagonist or colored anything, people on the internet are going to be like bitching about it, saying it's woke. Black people existing is woke agenda, apparently. What just happened?
When
Chrome fucking bugged out, sorry.
Like, yeah, this is what they believe, but when you say it out loud, it sounds like it goes back to like the trans thing. It's like trans people existing is woke. It's so fucking dumb to hear out loud.
Yeah, like, I'm just not allowed to be here. I'm like, I'm not going to get into like how white people using the word woke is an appropriation of language, because it is a term coined by, I believe, Black New Yorkers, just to be like, stay alert and stay aware of your surroundings, be aware of like what's going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't let people pull the wool over your eyes. It wasn't even necessarily politically charged. You know, it's like the same as telling somebody to know their rights, because, you know, black people are more likely to get stopped by officers on just walking down the street or driving to their mother's house. So, like, you know, you need to be, like, aware of your surroundings, you need to be aware of your rights. So that's basically all that is. So what people are using it are appropriating. And I'm not a cultural gatekeeper, and I'm saying this, like, it's appropriation, because they're using it for their own racist means. Okay, I did go into it, I'm sorry. But the thing is that, like, obviously the people who are saying all of this shit are uneducated. There is a YouTuber called Let's Ask Shogo, and he is a Japanese historian. He's younger, but he takes his he goes into etymology. I think that's the word for words, right? Etymology.
Yeah, etymology. Entomology is bugs.
Oh, buggos. Oops. Words are hard, okay? Anyway, so yeah, Let's Ask Shogo does a lot of history, Japanese history and stuff like that. Here's the Twitter page that links to a Shogo video where they talk about Yasuke. Japan loves Yasuke. And you can tell these people don't even understand the words that they are speaking because they're like, Yasuke wasn't a samurai, he was a retainer. A retainer is still a trained fighter and a trained warrior. And a samurai is not one specific thing, but anybody who's trained to fight with a sword. Right? And it's just a lot of people just don't know the words that they are speaking and are speaking them for their own shitty, bigoted agenda, and it's really fucking annoying. The other part, too, where you can tell how uneducated these people are, is that it's just like, well, if they did an Assassin's Creed game in Africa, and then people bring up the one that was based in Egypt, does anybody here, pop quiz for anybody, do you know where Egypt is?
I know,
That's
me.
right.
Me.
Yeah?
Africa.
Exactly. Exactly. I believe
It's
it's at the very top there, right?
Yeah,
that borders the Middle East.
It's north of Nubia.
Yeah, exactly. So and people are like, Egypt isn't in Africa. It's just like.
Are they?
Wait, there's just no point in arguing with these people. People are saying, people are fully saying that Egypt isn't in Africa, idiot. Look at a fucking atlas! And you're just like, oh, all the maps on Google are changed to fit the woke agenda. This is the part where I would as a black person, I would be like, N-word, fuck off.
Where would it go then? I want to give them a map that doesn't have any labels on it. It's just the geography of the world. No borders, no labels, and just say point to where Egypt is.
Yeah, seriously.
As a way to shut down representation of other cultures or type of people, Assassin's Creed also has you fight the Pope. Yo, that's the best Assassin's Creed. For people who don't know, the final boss fight of Assassin's Creed 2 is just a fist fight with the Pope in a pit.
Flat Earthers exist, Arrow. Flat Earthers exist.
You never.
And then Egypt is still in the same place it's going to be, but yeah.
If the Earth is flat, if the Earth isn't flat, why is my map flat?
Because it's paper.
Exactly. Thank you for proving my point. You heard it here first. The Earth is flat according to Miu.
What? No, the map is paper, not the.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
We're saying the same thing here.
No, we're not.
I told you I was gonna try and get you heated.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not cracking. I don't want to have that argument with Twitch. I don't want you to have that argument with Twitch. I am black, I am Jamaican, but I'm not doing it.
People who debate the existence of geography is both hilarious and sad. It's the most how do you not understand Earth? That's where you live, idiot.
Right.
Oh my god.
Some people don't think they live on the same planet. I don't want to be on the same planet anymore either.
It's
just rocket me with sun.
What always gets me is the people who are like, the Earth is flat, but the moon is spherical.
Yeah.
What? It's
Turtles
such a
all the way down.
Turtles all the way down. All right, so Yasuke was a real guy. I think is
There's even a black person who's coming out saying this shit is dumb without understanding history. Sorry.
No, but I mean again, the thing is, I'm not black, I'm not Japanese. This might surprise many people watching. I'm not black, and I'm not Japanese. So, whatever I have to say on the topic is borderline irrelevant. But let me just say, for for every white person who says woke unironically with venom in their veins, that we could be reasoned with. I promise. You telling me this guy was based on a real person? That's cool as hell. Yes, I want to play as him in a video game. I think it's awesome we're getting a Yasuke video game.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like, oh, I want a Japanese protagonist. Have you ever heard of a JRPG? Or are you just so far up your own Western ass that you didn't realize that other places in the world made video games?
There are people...
You could literally play... These are kind of like good. Not really.
There's literally Western companies that make... Like, you could play Ghost of Tsushima.
Tsushima.
Yeah, that was made by a Western company. And that game
Yeah,
is fucking beautiful. Sony just released...
Sekiro as well.
Quit playing. There we go.
Sorry.
Oh no, sorry, I was talking to the fucking website.
Oh.
You're good.
There's Sekiro as well.
Yeah,
there's
Sekiro.
Neo?
Rise of the
I don't know anything about Neo.
Rise of the Ronin just came out from Sony. Was it Sony? Yeah. Like, that just came out a couple months ago. If you want to play as a Japanese protagonist, you have the cool thing about Ghost of Tsushima is there are two different skill tree paths. You could play as a ninja or a samurai. The character story is built so you could do either. If you want to play like a solely samurai.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, like whenever you come across an encampment that's been like taken over, you have an option of like, I want to be a ninja, like a little, because the whole thing is like, he was raised to be a samurai, but given his situation, he's like, I might have to play a little dirty. I might have to be a ninja and do things a little sneaky. It's not very honorable, but I might have to do it. So you could either sneak into an encampment and go like full Assassin's Creed ninja style, or you can just approach the town that's been taken over, like with your samurai shit, and be like, I challenge everybody in this town for like to free this town. I'm gonna kick all of your asses. You can just walk into town like a fucking, as for the Western equivalent, like a cowboy. Just walk into town and be like, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass and get like big samurai points.
That sounds really cool.
It's so good. It's like one of the only games I will play. I say like traditional Japanese. It's made by a Western company, but I will play that in Japanese because English breaks my immersion.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And like, I feel like Ghost of Tsushima, so like while we're on like the language topic, this is perfect. Now that I can say it out loud.
Oh no.
Ghost of Tsushima! Why are you going to make them have like these very thick Asian Japanese accents and still say Shogun? It's Shogun! Gun! U! A-I-U-E-O! Shogun! Shogun! Shogun!
The second you were like, now that since we're talking about language in Ghost of Tsushima, I knew exactly.
I say it so much. Why? Like, it doesn't work. If they have a Japanese accent, that means they speak Japanese, which means they can say Shogun. Oh my, Shogun.
Yeah, but have you considered that I was born in the United States and have heard Shogun my whole life? If he said.
Ooh.
Because they look down on their audience.
Gun!
Pathetic.
Ooh. Yeah, I know. American, like, okay, so, friend Forrest, like, one time we were talking about, like, the way that he says Tokyo. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna change my accent just to say the word properly. And then try to use Moscow as an excuse against me, and it's just like, okay, well, oh my god, not this gooning shit. I just learned what that was last night. Anyway,
oh, I'm so sorry.
I was just like, because I saw this one meme where it's just like, evil person hiring goons, and it's like, so when do we start jacking off? And I didn't understand it, and then after I was scrolling, I saw more memes, and I'm just like, oh, it means edging. Okay, anyway, sorry for the definition, but yeah, the Shogun, so it's like, I'm not going to break my accent. It's just like, so then don't complain when people call you, like, an uncultured American. Because you're, like, pronouncing things from their culture wrong. You know, it's like one or the fucking other.
Well, they're also...
Because, like, you know, you may not know how to say it, but if you do know how to say it, if it's difficult for your accent, like, you know, at least put a little bit of effort into it, because it's not, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, but they're also, so... I don't know if this is really a thing like socially in Canada, but here in the States there definitely is a like if you say the word like with the correct inflection or like the correct accent, people will like also look at you weird for like if I were to say shogun, you know, it just in the context of, you know, I'm speaking just English, I'm speaking in my normal speaking voice, and then just right in the middle of it, if I'm talking about Ghost of Tsushima and I say Shogun, like, people, they're not to be like fucking weeb, you know, point and laugh, haha, weeb, but, or like...
Yeah, because they don't know how it's supposed to be said, so it's going to sound off, and it also doesn't necessarily match your all-American accent. I can't do it.
Yeah, and then
you can shoot me now.
But there's other instances like the Spanish Day of the Dead, like if in a more American way it's Dia de los Muertos, but it's Dia de los Muertos. Like there is more of a like if you say it with more of the inflection.
Yeah, I can't do the Spanish inflections very well.
If you say it like that, people will kind of look at you weird, like you're trying too hard. Like that is just a thing. Reminds me of
like
people here
I kind of get it.
Muslim or say taco or taco. I don't know why I turned into Dale Gribble for a second.
Yeah, it's like taco.
I've never heard.
Or jalapeno.
Jalapeno? Jalapeno?
Tortilla. Quesadilla. Guacamole.
It's pronounced guacamole, thank you very much.
Oh, there you go.
That's a Futurama joke.
You just gotta put emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Exactly. Now, so, I guess trying to get back to racist, I think this does come down to, because we talked a little bit about, like, if it had been, like, a white samurai, there wouldn't be, I think there still would have been some backlash.
The backlash would have just been weebs, not racists.
Yeah, but the fact that it is a historically accurate figure, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, this guy really did exist, we don't know a lot about him, which means we can kind of layer the Assassin's Creed mythos over him to help tell our story. Okay,
there's
that's
a lot of information up until Nobunaga's defeat, and then nobody knows what happens to Yasuke after that. Yasuke did not, like, you know, do the... what is it, seppuku? No, there's seppuku and there's harakiri. One of them is, like, the honorable one, and one of them is the dishonorable one, and I always forget which one is which. But basically, when you're...
I know what you're talking
master,
about.
Your shogun, like, you know, you become a ronin if your master dies. Although he was defending, like, Oda's son, who also died, so I don't think he committed seppuku or harakiri, or whichever one it's supposed to be. However, he did live on, Yasuke did live on, but there's nothing written about him afterwards. So nobody knows what happened to him after, the Oda family died.
But I mean, after the Oda family died, wasn't there just also a huge gap in general history after that? Because they were trying to rebuild?
Well,
like,
the rebuilding, and there's, like, some stuff written about that, but, like, yeah, there's quite a few, like, samurai and, like, historical figures from that era that kind of, like, dropped off and, like, disappeared. It's
like, you know, they had all this detailed history because they were I don't want to say, like, a functioning society, but, like, when essentially the figurehead of your society, when the Oda family, like, what else do you write other than shit's fucked right now?
Yeah.
What else do you really write in that moment? It's like, well, you know, there's no guy in charge for me to write about, you know, there's not really a whole lot going on other than more people died today. But I mean, every place in the world has had a history point like that. Like, there's no place with, like, perfect 100% history record.
Yeah, like, there's some Ronin who became, like, police officers to uphold the law, and then there's, like, some, like, well, not just Ronin, but, like, more samurai, and Ronin who, like, became officers, and then there's some who became bandits, so there's just, like, this whole, like, cleanup of the war era, because there wasn't, like, a lot of, like, centralized law. Because one
Exactly.
place was owned by one person, one place was owned by another person, one place was owned by another person. So it was like unifying Japan and stuff.
I do just want to say, because Arrow brought up a very good point, like a very specific example. Neo has, and it genuinely, like the samurai in Neo. I have.
Oh, it is? Wait, okay.
Yeah, I have both those games. I haven't played them yet, but like genuinely, when you look at him, he kind of looks like Papa Nier from the first. I don't remember if it was like Nier Replicant or Nier Gestalt that had the dad. It was Gestalt that had the dad main character. Like it kind of looks like that. Like he is just kind of this middle-aged guy. It's like, how are you a fucking samurai? Not
like a Pedro Pascal person.
Not as handsome. Not as handsome.
Yeah, but like okay. Just like a fucking middle-aged dad guy.
Yeah, no, like it's one of those things. Like you look at all the cool things he's doing, and then he like you see him in a cutscene, and it's like, I don't believe you did any of that. You look like your back hurts.
Yeah, actually, no, that does remind me because I don't know anything about Neo, but I did see like in the comments, it's just like, where was all of this discourse when Neo dropped?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, literally all of the discourse is coming from the fact that it's a black person, and black people existing is woke leftist culture. Like, we're not allowed to just be born. And like, it's not even really something as like, and like, it's an immutable quality. And same with like LGBT stuff, is like, it's an immutable quality, but identity is something you kind of like come into as you grow older and you grow more aware and you grow more educated of what your options are to identify yourself as.
Mm-hmm.
When you're born black, most of the time you're just born black. You know what I mean? So like, from birth, we're just part of this woke culture, and it's really irritating. It's really annoying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It is an instance, and I obviously can't speak to that at all, but it's one of those, like, it's a double-edged sword of like, whether or not you wanted to be born into it, you're born into it. But at the same time, like, it just outside looking in, it's a cause worth fighting for. It's still, fighting against racism because racism bad. But again, that's coming from the perspective of somebody who is wholly, entirely white, and it's not something I live every day.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's like, but the thing is like, we, like, a lot of the time, a lot of us who are, like, usually marginalized and discriminated against will often fight for each other. There's, like, racism between races, but, like, I mean, between, like, LGBT and, like, other things like that. So, the 2016 Gay Pride Parade on the Sunday, Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, came and participated in it, which was awesome. Everyone was calling him the P-MILF, the Prime Minister. I love the fuck and stuff like that, because he was young and he was hot and yada yada. It was
What do you
great.
mean
it was hilarious. He's like Silver Fox now, yeah. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the beard he was rocking during the pandemic, but I also I'm not that attracted to him. He's just like a generic white guy, generic hot white guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, Black Lives Matter protested, and this is like one of the main reasons why I'm so surprised my mom became a TERF as well. Like, I'm surprised and I'm not surprised because, like, the internet is a cesspool, but like, so a lot of people were confused. Why is Black Lives Matter protesting at the Gay Pride Parade? Because they were protesting against police involvement in the Gay Pride Parade. But that's because police also treat LGBT like shit. And my mom told me a story about when she was homeless. And there was, like, trans girl that, like, she was friends with. And that trans girl was assaulted by officers, got a toonie thrown at her. Sorry to use Canadian lingo and make it sound a whole lot less serious. And it's just like, no, a loony, not a toonie, thrown at her, and like, oh yeah, that's all you're worth. And there's a lot of treatment of, like, dykes, because we have, like, the dyke march and everything like that, dykes, trans, lesbians, by police officers back in that day when my mom was, like, like, homeless and, like, part of these communities. So Black Lives Matter wasn't protesting for black people, it was protesting against the police for all, right? But all the white people were just like, oh, why are they making it about them? It's about pride. of course, but like, you know what I mean.
But also, every marginalized group should help each other out, because we all are very small groups, you know? There's always going to be larger groups fighting against us.
That's one of the things that, like, this is just, like, kind of a little bit of an observation I'm going to make as a, like, black person of color, is that when it comes to, like, I will say black and I will say Aboriginal, Aboriginal have, like, their own struggles that, like, even black people in Canada can't fathom as much, because it's just so much worse for them here. But, like, we tend to fight for everybody because we just want equality, because we've been this way for so long. But then when it comes to other marginalized areas, like, I am just going to say it, and I am not against, like, these people at all. I am totally, like, inclusive and shit like that, but, like, a lot of, like, South Asian and, like, Middle Eastern people won't necessarily be very welcoming to black folk in their communities, but they will still, like, you know, kind of try and, like, fight for their own equality and stuff like that. And, like, they can be inclusive with, like, other areas and races, but I do know that, like, for example, India has, like, the caste system, or whatever, however you say. How do you say this word? Hold on, help. Is it just caste?
Yeah.
It's just caste? Okay, I wasn't sure if it's caste or caste. Thank you. But they have, like, a caste system, and they have, like, issues with colorism and stuff like that, like, ever since, like, you know, Queen Elizabeth came around and stuff like that. So I do know they've already had, like, their own issues with that they struggle with internally and stuff like that. But it's just, like, black people get shit on by everybody, including other black people. But I've noticed, like, most often that, like, I'm not generalizing, saying, as, like, from my own experiences as well. Once, like, I've come up with, like, South Asian or, like, Middle Eastern people who, like, well, I was, like, you know, similar to them from their area, like, from Bangladesh or whatever, like, mixed from Bangladesh or from India or from, like, Iran or something, and I'm just like, no, I'm half Jamaican, and just seeing their facial expression change, it's kind of like, we're shit on a lot. You're shit on a lot. We shouldn't have this interaction between us. We both get it. We both understand, right? So it's, like, kind of, I don't know, I noticed that, like, some black people can be very black people only, but I noticed that, like, sometimes some of our movements is usually, like, despite us being the center, we want to fight for everyone and everything. And I don't know, like, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, like, the whole Palestine thing is probably, like, really, like, it's crossed the world, right? Like, the Free Palestine thing is, like, all over the fucking world, and it's everybody and everything, including Jewish people, including Palestinians, including Muslim people, including black people, you know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of that, from what I've dealt with in the past with these experiences, is definitely changing, because even, like, Jewish people are fighting to free Palestine from Israel and all of that stuff, so I think that's really wonderful to see, and I think that's a really good sign of things to come. But yeah, that's just, like, some stuff I've experienced. So I feel like, yeah, a lot of that is changing, thankfully. But, like, older, South Asian people will, like, once they find out I'm not also South Asian, just will look at me very differently. And it's kind of like, why? We're very similar. We're from warm countries, we have dark skin, we get shit on for a lot of shit. By, like, other people. I don't understand why there's such a divide.
It comes down to, again, I can't speak to anything cultural, but for, like, a person by person, like, individual basis, it comes down to learned empathy. You know, if it is an ingrained thing in their culture about, Arrow just texted, Canada knows people from minorities that support systems designed to put other people down, denouncing protests tend to be fairly well off financially, or, 100%. So, like, all of this, like, you know, minority versus minority thing aside, like, it's all learned empathy. All of this, like, oh, you know, it's about race, it's about sexuality, it's about gender identity, it's about religion, all this stuff is bullshit. It has always been class warfare, because anybody who has the money to put towards fighting these causes, in heavy quotation marks, are just trying to keep the status quo, because the status quo is what's keeping them where they are.
Yeah, like I remember reading a little thread about like the treatment of like women and children during the Sri Lankan genocide of Tamil and stuff like that. And that's like just like different peoples within one's own country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and you know, there's like a lot of people who were supposed to be prosecuted for a lot of like the war crimes that they did during this time. Like, trust me when I say I do empathize with like Middle Eastern and South Asian, because I know they go through a lot of this terrible shit that a lot of black people have gone through as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like this Tamil genocide and stuff like that, a lot of these people were let off by like Sri Lankan leaders and like, you know, treated as heroes for the stuff that they've done, which is limited and not including to assaults and murder of tons of women and children, not to mention the war itself. So like, because those leaders in power were the people who are propagating this, so they're just letting these like awful people walk free because it's like fits their agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like prosecuting their own soldiers is not going to look good for them, so they're not going to be able to people are going to lose respect for the leadership if they're prosecuting their own soldiers.
Was it you? I'm sorry, I just looked over back and saw the Assassin's Creed article. Was it you who sent me the video of the short of the guy who was like, maybe putting Yasuke in the game was a marketing tactic?
I might have, because yes, there was. So getting off of this topic, apologies.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I didn't mean to derail it because you were on a roll there, but
it's fine.
Okay.
It might have been because getting back into the game stuff. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Again, I think all people should fight for all people, and that's, you know what I mean, for all people and true equality, and that's just the last thing I'm going to say on that.
And also eat the rich. It's class warfare. Don't ever let the propaganda get to you. It's always been class warfare.
Yeah, for example, rich white people don't have to worry about the poor, marginalized colored people if the colored people are busy fighting each other.
Exactly.
Right.
We have declassified documents that show that former presidents of the United States were trying to do like, race versus race, or the pink scare, which is what they called like the lavender scare, I think is what they called it, which was the fear of homosexuality in America. Ooh, like all that shit was funded by the U.S. government because we were busy trying to figure out who we wanted to go to war with next or something. It's all bullshit. Don't let it get to you.
I shouldn't speak on this too much because I don't know enough about it, but I do believe that like part of Lincoln was the one who like did the free slavery thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was like ulterior motives behind Lincoln doing it. It wasn't just for out of the goodness of his heart. It was like other things.
So,
but I don't know what it is because I don't know shit.
I mean, every president ever has had an agenda. That's just fact. Every president ever has had some kind of agenda, and I think, a big part of it. So they knew there was going to be a civil war before Lincoln was even president, and the guy who went before him, Buchanan, is the like, giving rich trans people can be transphobic. Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying not to interrupt you. That's why I'm saying.
Oh no, it's okay. Sorry. It popped up, so my brain was like, "Oh, read that real quick." But oh, awesome. No, so the guy who was president before Lincoln, Buchanan, is notoriously like one of the I don't want to say he's one of the worst presidents, but he basically was like, oh, there's gonna be a civil war. I'm just gonna bury my head in the sand until my presidency's over and leave that for the next guy. I'm gonna do absolutely nothing in my 4 years as president and hope it just blows over and hope it's not my problem.
Yeah. There's also the other thing of like, even Obama kind of low-key attempted to low-key start a war so that it was easier for him to get second term in office.
Oh yeah,
drone strikes or something, right? Like it's a thing that like almost every president do. Like Trump tried. I don't know if Biden.
Every president who starts a war is like twice as more likely to stay in office for a second term, because the idea is finish the shit you started. And I mean, to be fair, Obama picked up the war from Bush Jr., the war in the Middle East, that whole farce. And you know, I think Obama did his best, but I also know for a fact that he drone striked children. So
yeah,
you know, it's
you can't be an American president if you don't do something kind of fucked up.
There's always gonna be war crimes. It's
you have like that's just I feel like that's just like a requirement of a U.S. president at this point. Like when I say fuck Americans, I don't mean you, Silver. I mean the government and the people who support that shit.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And like it sucks. It sucks being like, because I'm an American citizen and I want to stay informed, because staying informed is how, you know, like you were saying, staying woke, but staying woke, but on a more like national scale of understanding what the fuck is going on in my country. It's so hard to do when everybody sucks and like we're in an election year and it's Trump and Biden again. Like we just can't get new like people to elect. It's the worst rematch in history.
I will never, ever, as a female foreign LGBT person of color, will never visit the states of Trump wants, because Trump wants to give police immunity.
That is such bullshit. I mean,
I don't know how many people I can marry to get them cards to come here, so don't count on that.
It just depends.
Polygamy's not legal in Ontario.
That was going to be my question.
Can't just like, yeah, no, it's not, because of the children, which like it kind of makes sense. Having like 6 moms and 1 dad is weird, but at the same time, it's like it's outdated at this point in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we started to get to this point, like we started to get to this social point with like, you know, depending on social groups, like polyamory is more socially acceptable, and things like that. But that's neither here.
Actually, not necessarily true, but I find a lot of polyamorous people don't want to get children involved anyway.
No, that's exactly the point, which, again, might be part of the propaganda to stay in power if they try and keep that whole, like, oh, you need to get married to have children. You can't just get married because you like someone a bunch. The only way to afford...
Did you ever see the short of, is like this, like, old American, like, accent twang guy who's, like, talking about polyamory? It's just like, now hold on a second. There's, like, a polyamorous family down the road. It's just like... You go on, like, he goes on about, like, you telling me you all paying a little bit of the rent of the house, and then, like, well, if at least one of them is into fishing, then I'd have somebody to, like, you know, back the truck up while I drive the boat off it. And, you know, are you polyamorous people just getting together to play some D&D? I'm on to you, right? And, like, he sounds like he's gonna say all of this shit, but it's just, like, all of this really funny, positive stuff, and it's just, like... Huh, that don't sound too bad. And then it's like, it's so fucking good. I gotta find it. I'll find it for you after stream. It's so good, and it's just like, yeah, get a polycule going. Get a house. Play D&D.
Telling me there's just like a big house full of my best friends and we're all just kissing? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Nah, like, outside looking in, like, it's like, oh, that's cool, that's really sweet, if it can work out. Some of the polyamorous relationships I've seen in real life have ended horribly, and I am a very, like, monogamous person. But, like, outside looking in, I'm like, if you can make it work, hell yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the thing is, like...
That's exactly it, Arrows. Songs are on the same page. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so a lot of it is basically like that. Adults these days don't know how to fucking communicate. They don't know how to have a conversation about shit, or be, like, upfront about shit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are, like, jealous, and, like, don't know how to get over themselves. A lot of people are full of themselves and just want a house of girls that they can fuck.
Oh
Guys,
God.
you know, it goes both ways. It does go both ways. It's just the most common thing you'll see is like men want a threesome, but only if it's with another girl, never with another man, and I'm sick of it.
They want the.
Let me get spit roasted, please.
They want
Sorry.
They want. Like, I saw that visual visibly recoil. Like, you surprised yourself by saying that out loud. But yeah, no, you're right. They want the fucking, like, harem anime dream, and it's the most selfish shit ever.
Yeah. It's really fucking annoying. Like, this is like, I don't want to, like, see another man, like, cock and balls. Like, it's just, it's part of, like, the patriarchy shit, and we could keep going about all of these social issues, but we should move back to video games soon. But
oh yeah, this is about video
basically,
games.
with healthy adult communication, condoms, and a little bit of self-reflection or therapy, trust me, polyamory could work. Right? It's not like that Robot Chicken clip of the Playboy Bunny guy where it's just like, I get him on Mondays and Tuesdays.
I'll take your word for it.
It's a really funny clip, look it up.
I remember...
Yeah, especially if a girl says she's bi, it's just like, oh yeah, now I can have a harem and she'll be okay with it.
Oh my god.
And I'm sick of it, and at this point, like, if a man is willing to be open and not willing to have another man involved in the bedroom, but is having another girl involved in the bedroom, it's a red flag for me. It's like, it's okay if you're straight, I get it, right? But at the same time, it's just, like, selfish, patriarchy, masculinity bullshit.
Oh my god.
Not that I'm going to try to force another man into the bedroom, but it's just a red flag. Right? I don't want to see another man's cock about. So why do I want to see another girl sit on your face then? Why is that okay?
It's almost like
you know what I mean?
It's almost like this goes back into the conversation about empathy, and it's like, hey, imagine if you were in that same situation, you know?
If you can't handle it, why are you gonna put me through it? Even if I say I can handle it, that's a little unfair.
It's very unfair. All right, so that's Assassin's Creed. Doing something really cool that people can't handle.
And then in the shadows of that, amongst all of this, wokeism discourse,
do you even realize what you just did?
$130 in live service. Is Assassin's Creed ever been multiplayer? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Has it ever had like the multiplayer function that isn't kind of like connect to the internet and share data with players?
There's been some online functionality, like Unity. I think you can play with up to 3 friends online. Like there's been some there's been some,
kind of like GTA but half-grade.
Yeah, like there's been some. I think Brotherhood or Revelations had like some online missions you could do with a friend. It wasn't like play the story mode with a friend, but it was more so like, oh, here's like a handful of like who can assassinate this person first, kind of like you're given the same target, which, that all that stuff is really cool. But yeah, first of all, I would like to say, nice fucking segue, because you said in the shadows of, and this one is Assassin's Creed Shadows. So, nice fucking...
Totally intended.
I know it was, that you can't lie to me.
Yeah, I can't lie to you.
But, yeah, no, I think it was you who sent me this video. That was just like maybe for a game that they can take from you. Yes, God, paying $70 for, first of all, paying the same prices for a digital copy versus a physical copy of the game is bullshit. If it's a digital copy, you should not be charging the same as a physical copy. That is absolute horseshit. But yeah, so there is the normal version of the game, which is $70 USD. There's special edition, which is 100 USD, and then there's the super special edition, which is 130 USD. Ubisoft, I think it's Ubisoft that's doing this for, or maybe it's also EA that's doing this too, because the new Stars War game that's coming out has the same pricing, where it's like $130 for the super special premium special pretty edition. Ubisoft can suck my USD, absolutely.
Yeah, so imagine, so remember, oh god, so if we're talking about USD to CAD, right? Okay, so remember how I was saying, like, you know, your average game is, like, average, which is going up now, but, like, $60, right? $59.99. So remember how that's $79.99 here?
Yeah.
And on my stream the other day, I think we were looking at, like, not the other day, this is a little bit ago, like a week or two ago, probably 2 weeks ago, but we were looking at, like, video game prices and, like, the way that, like, people are just like, oh yeah, this game is this game. So it's like, you want to know how much Persona 3 Reload is for me? It's like $93. The new Dragon's Dogma is $93, and that's without taxes, so with taxes is over $100. So, if I want to do 130 USD to CAD, are you ready? $177. $177 without tax.
For special pre-order skins and
Ontario tax rate.
That's like for special pre-order skins and for the season's pass, which is gonna suck because it's Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, so I don't. In order to get back to you, because like the video game tax is like a specific thing in Ontario. But here, so we'll take 177. Let me open my calculator. 177 multiplied by 1.13, which is just general Ontario sales tax. $200.01. It will be $200.01, probably a little bit more than that because I think video game tax is a little bit higher. I'm not sure. For this game. This live service game that they could take off the internet at any point in time and I won't be able to revisit or play anymore.
Fuck that.
So imagine what those prices will look like in Brazil. Imagine what those prices will look like in Australia. Imagine what those prices would look like in China or India. So it's not even necessary. Like, if Americans are finding issue with this, imagine what it's like for the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fucking ridiculous. I don't remember entirely what goes into the $130 version of Ascreed, but I do know for the difference between the $100 version and the $130 version for the new Star Wars game.
There is a chart.
It is a digital art book. It is just a series of JPEGs and PNGs of making of art that I guarantee you is somebody's gonna crack from like a physical copy of the game and just put up on the internet within like a month.
You also called out gacha gamers with that. I don't, because they're just paying for PNGs and JPEGs.
Fuck gacha games. Fuck gacha.
Yeah, fuck gacha. That's all I have to say.
Can you imagine if games are priced based on quality? Ubisoft games would be $10, Elden Ring would be like $150. I still wouldn't pay $150 for Elden Ring. I'm not even gonna pay $60 for Elden Ring. I'll play Elden Ring once I get it through PlayStation Plus.
You mean?
Yes. Once I can't wait till
that's going to be a very long time from now because I don't think they're gonna put it for free on PlayStation Plus when there's a new DLC coming out.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I mean the thing is too, I also just have other FromSoft games that I want to play, which is literally any of them. This is the most BS Deluxe Edition content I've seen. If I want an art book, yes! I have a handful of like hardcover art books that are so pretty. And just the tactile thing of I own this book of art feels so much better than a file on my fucking PlayStation that I just, tap R1 and scroll through fucking JPEGs. It's dystopia. Charging $30 for a file like that feels dystopian. But the thing is, it costs them fucking nothing to charge $130 for this file of art. If they sell one, that is $30 they've made on nothing. They'll do it again.
Yeah, because a lot of the digital art books are like concept art and finalized art, so it's art that is already in their possession, right? All they really have to do is pay maybe $30 for somebody to arrange it in a nice book format, right? Which is really the only thing that's coming out of their pocket for it. And even then, it could probably wouldn't even take that much effort, right?
Even then, they're probably not hiring somebody for it. It's probably just talking to a programmer like, hey, I want you to, can you set up this thing in the menu, the extras menu? Here's the files. Can you just set this up in the extra menu?
Yeah, exactly, because it's not even a physical, like, hardcover, right?
I remember when, going way back,
Way back. I think I know where you're going.
production art, production art for a game, like concept art, for, level design, character design, maybe like cool cross sections of a character. That was just free on a game back in the PS2 era. That was
like
so many
PS3 as well, because the Agarist series has like unlockable CGs and stuff like that, and part of those unlockable CGs, which you just get for completing an ending, whether it be like the good ending, bad ending, whatever, will be like old concept art for like some of the characters. So like there's one character that I actually want to draw fan art of. She's a bunny girl, Qua. She's absolutely adorable. She was originally supposed to be a cat girl. There's another like wolf girl, Shadowfineer. Her dress used to look very different and stuff like that, and it's got like a whole bunch of like concept art for like some of the characters, like some of the romanceable characters and stuff. And then if you go back even further, like Scalar, for example, just the book that comes in like the video game cases.
Yeah,
that had a whole bunch of like concept art as well. You used to see like just like little islands and stuff. You good?
I was gonna look for it in my physical copy of Scalar, but I don't know where it is.
Oh no.
I don't know where Scalar is.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask, like, do you still have that? Because they do have like some of the sketches and stuff like that in there from what I remember as a kid, because I used to look at the little video game pamphlet book all the time and draw Scalar characters.
I love shit like that, and the one that I think of is Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank includes tons of concept art in their extras, man.
Yeah. It used to be just like, and now like they charge for it, because of course they do, and it's like, and I would find it acceptable if they're giving like a majority of that money to the artist, considering it's artist focused, right? Like obviously programmers, playtesters, like everybody involved in a video game deserves a lot. Voice actors, writers, whatever. Oh, it doesn't have it?
No.
Oh, that's too bad. Oh, that's really too bad. I'm sorry.
My Bionicle game has it. Is there any art in here?
Bionicle.
I fucking love Bionicle.
All I can think of is like Bionicle memes.
Oh, Bionicle.
This is why I said, this is why I need new personality. I can quote so many fucking memes off the top of my head that it's like so pervasive in my language that like, do I have a personality outside of quoting memes and listening to HachuneMiu?
Here's one.
I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure anymore.
This was one I really liked from when I was a kid. Blood Omen 2, my favorite vampire game. There's some really good art of like characters and stuff. And like kind of like little biographies about them and stuff, but it includes lots of really nice artwork.
Yeah, and then like they'll often put the backgrounds of like some of the levels and stuff like that in like book format and stuff, and it's like really cool.
But yeah, no, like I just remember in like at least the first 7 or 8 Ratchet and Clank games, it would just be like, oh, if you do like 10 in-game achievements, you'll get the concept art for the game. And it's, again, like it's the same thing. It would be the same thing as buying it for $30 from Ubisoft, where you're just tapping R1 to scroll through fucking JPEGs.
I swear, the way people used to talk about either Norman Reedus or like the last Metal Gear game is just like, oh, they brought Hideo Kojima out of his room in the asylum for another game or something. It's like a lot of his writing is like kind of crazy.
They let him out of the padded cell.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with getting help. There's some people will need it. However, Hideo Kojima is also kind of fucking off his shit.
Yeah.
I think it's very fair to say that he is an eccentric man who knows what he wants.
Yeah.
Alright, are we done talking about Yasuke? We done?
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah, because like we've gone into the fucking the money thing.
Yeah, so the real crime here isn't that they put a black person in a video game. The real crime is that they're charging $130 for a special edition.
$177 for Canadians. Yeah, exactly.
After tax, around $200 for a video game is so fucking dystopian. I remember when I was a kid, and it was like $30. Remember when? Do you remember when video game pricing wasn't standardized, and some games brand new would be $30, and some games brand new would be like $40? Yeah. Or just like generalized, like just a varying price range.
This was like Blockbuster and before days though, so I was mostly renting because we couldn't afford a lot of like brand new video games. And I would like play them for a week, finish them, and then we could give them back, and I was fine with that, right?
Yeah, I just remember like going to Game Crazy, yeah, for like rentals and stuff, but I just remember going to Game Crazy and seeing varying prices.
Yeah.
I don't know what played it the always escapes his room. All right. Let's close this tab and see what comes up next. Squeenix.
Houdini shit and always escapes and just makes a video game in the meantime, and then I finally catch him and bring him back, and that's when you don't hear from him forever, and then when he escapes again, that's when there's like a new video game release. Like the greased up deaf guy, except he's off in like somebody's basement where nobody can find him, like coding a video game.
Now you think Hideo? He's the director now. He's got other little code monkeys. He's got an army of greased up code monkeys.
Yeah, well, they still need his rating.
So he's at a typewriter.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he uses a typewriter.
I know, right?
All right. So this is some good news. This is some good news. Well, good news and bad news. So, Square Enix is going multi-platform. For a long time, Square Enix has been partnered with PlayStation, has been partnered with Sony. Like, a lot of Final Fantasy games have been PlayStation exclusives. I think from like Final Fantasy VII forward, for the most part, they've at least launched exclusively. But then like Final Fantasy 12 and stuff have gone over to like Switch and whatnot, have been like remastered and stuff. And Xbox, I think, got the Final Fantasy X collection that was like 10 and 10-2. But for the most part, like Final Fantasy games start as like PlayStation exclusives. I'm fucking playing it on stream. Kingdom Hearts. Rest eventually get it after the hype. Yeah, but like Xbox doesn't.
Kingdom Hearts is like locked behind fucking Epic, so I don't know if that's going to change.
Well, like what I mean by this in terms of like console exclusivity is like the only Kingdom Hearts game that Xbox got was 3. They didn't get a single other Kingdom Hearts game. They didn't even get Melody of Memory, I think, the one that came out after 3.
On Switch?
Well, I mean Xbox.
Oh, yeah, but I thought that was Switch only.
No, I have a physical copy for PS4, I think, of Melody of Memory. Oh. I haven't played it. This is the only Kingdom Hearts game I haven't played. Xbox got 1.5, 2.5 eventually.
Did you play Chain?
Hang on, fucking add on the music. What was that?
Did you play Chain?
Yeah, I've played every Kingdom Hearts game except Melody of Memory.
Yeah, and it gets original coded.
Oh yeah,
it was like a fucking flip phone game.
I did play Recoded on the DS though.
Yeah, that's the most skippable one.
In all honesty, so I played it, and then when the collection came out, it was like, oh darn, they couldn't upscale the DS graphics for the gameplay, and it was just all the cutscenes together. I remember watching that like mega cut movie, that 4-hour long like mega cut of the cutscenes, and I was like, yeah, not a whole lot happened, huh? It's like people like to rag on 358 Days Over 2 for being like, oh, a bunch of stuff happens, and then at the end of the game they're like, nuh-uh, it didn't happen. But like really nothing happened encoded. Like,
yeah.
At least 358 Days Over 2 like fleshed out some characters. Like we learned more about Roxas and Axel. Like we got to learn more about the Organization 13 members that kind of got shafted and calm.
You also got to play as them.
Yeah, like
Lexi was actually really fun to play for some reason, even though she's like literally the one who doesn't matter. She's like the one girl in the organization, and she doesn't matter. Shion doesn't exist. Don't worry.
I would say the one that matters the least is probably like Lexaeus.
Yeah.
Lexaeus.
Everybody likes Zexy. Marley.
Like
No, Marley was the final boss. I forget. I keep forgetting.
Kingdom Hearts and NGS have a competition of who can understand all the lore. Kingdom Hearts is not that hard to understand if you play them in order of release. The problem is people try to play them in chronological order, and that shit doesn't work, because a lot of events are overlapping, and there's, yo, what's going on?
Yeah, you can't play Birth by Sleep before you play Kingdom Hearts 1.
Birth by Sleep
You're not going to know what the fuck is going on.
Exactly.
You're not going to know what the darkness is. You're not going to know what, like, Heartless and Nobodies are. You're not going to know what a fucking Keyblade is and what it does. People actually play it in chronological order? That's stupid.
I was just talking to my friend last night about this, because I posted, like, that I got those Kingdom Hearts trophies. I got under 15 hours and don't change equipment on the same playthrough. I got those at the same time, same playthrough. And I posted that in another chat now, and his partner, who I've actually known longer, I just lost contact with her, really. We don't really talk a lot, but like, she's huge into Kingdom Hearts, and so like, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, yeah, I tried getting into Kingdom Hearts too, because Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming out, and he was talking about his partner's like, all right, babe, I want you to lay out every Kingdom Hearts game in chronological order, and like, I'll play them. And I'm like, you asked for chronological order? And he was like, yeah. She immediately was like, don't do that, play the first one. Yeah,
release order. It's not like HachuneMiu where you can just like watch in broadcast order or watch in actual chronological order for two different experiences. And given if you watch it in broadcast order, the story won't make sense because it was broadcast out of order. Kingdom Hearts is not something you can like kind of do that with. It's not a funny show about girl who is God for some reason. I actually never finished it.
The only time I would say don't play them in chronological order is play the two that take place between 1 and 2 first, because it was 1, 2, and then Calm.
Yeah.
I would say play Calm before 2. Like, play Calm.
No, wait. No, Calm... I swear to Lord Arceus that Calm was GBA, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 came out.
Was it?
Recom was after Kingdom Hearts 2, because that's when they just ported it to the... Well, not ported it, they remade it for PlayStation 2. But I swear to dog, because I remember, like, seeing the GBA thing. I'm pretty sure it was GBA Com 2 Recom. Because Recoded is because it was remade, right?
Yeah.
So Recom was the remake, but that was after 2, but GBA Com was 2. Was before 2.
Well, my point still being that I think Recoded is a much better play than the Game Boy version. Like, don't play the Game Boy version of Calm, if I'm being... Because, like, it's also the quote-unquote... It's also the, like... It's also the, like, final mix, quote-unquote, of that. And, like, I think the final mixes are just objectively the best experience because it has, like...
have more story that Nomada didn't think of the first time.
Yeah, like teasing Organization 13 in Kingdom Hearts 1. That actually didn't turn out to be an Organization 13 member. Do you remember that?
Wait. Is that the hooded guy in the Destiny Islands?
No, okay, so that guy,
I actually still don't know who that is, because it's not Xehanort, or no, it's not Ansem Heartless.
No, that is,
Is it Diz?
It's Ansem. It's Ansem, hang on, god damn it, don't do this to me. It's, if I remember, it is old Ansem the Wise who becomes Diz, because he appears also to young Xehanort to pass on basically his ability of time travel at a certain point.
Xehanort before he became Mansex? Sorry, Xemnas?
Mansex. There's, god damn it, don't do this to me. Okay, so I believe it is Ansem the Wise before he becomes Diz in Kingdom Hearts 2.
When he was still blonde? No, he's blonde. He's still blonde if you take, like, the thing off.
But in Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, there were, in the original version, there were two secret bosses after you locked Hollow Bastion. Kurt Sisa in Agrabah and the Clock Tower Phantom in Neverland. In Final Mix, they added a third one. In the room in Hollow Bastion where you fought Maleficent as a dragon, there will be a guy in a Organization 13 hood And for a long time, people were
Is that
wondering,
Roxas?
people were wondering who it was. I think that's actually Terranort.
Oh.
Which means that...
Because, like, Roxas could technically make sense because Roxas should have existed by then because... Wait, you fight Maleficent after you become a Heartless, right?
No, you fight Maleficent, then you become a Heartless.
Oh, okay. It's been that long. I actually haven't touched Kingdom Hearts 1 since I was, like, 14 or whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, by that point, going back to that room after locking Calabash, it would make sense. But
Roxas
I think
could exist.
People are gonna correct me. I know people are. If nobody's doing it now, people are gonna do it on the VOD. People are gonna be like, actually. But the thing is, people were asking which Organization 13 member is that. I think it's Terranort, which isn't even an Organization 13 member. Which means that different versions of Terra, but not Terra, have been secret bosses in at least 2 Kingdom Hearts games, if you count Lingering Will in Kingdom Hearts 2, which I think is really fucking funny. That this guy just keeps showing up, he just keeps getting shafted by the story. I don't know. Poho's ticking... But Terranort instead.
Like at the end of like that video where like Voldemort's singing after the bomb blows out, it's like Voldemort, Voldemort, Voldy, Voldy. That, but like Terranort.
Terranort,
That's all that's going through my head.
Oh my god, thank you, Neil CC Rega.
Oh
God.
I mean, like if there's any legacy that Harry Potter's left behind, it's the Puppet Pals.
So that. Do you remember the band Lemon Demon at all? They did like Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Yes. Are you kidding me?
That's the same guy. That's the same guy who did.
And Tempest's like entire childhood.
The guy who started Lemon Demon also did Potter Puppet Pals.
Oh really?
Yeah, his name is Neil CC Rega, and he has been on the internet for like 25 years, and he just nothing but bangers.
YouTube before it was owned by Google.
Yeah.
Which is a time that I actually very vividly remember.
At least it's not no teens using the power of friendship to kill God. It's that, but does other stuff. Okay, getting back to...
it's not even... I don't even really think God is involved in Kingdom Hearts, but I haven't played 3. It's not God, it's just people who are, like, fucking with demons from hell. Thinking that it'll make the world better, and it's like, no.
It is so hard to not talk about Kingdom Hearts 3 around you. No spoilers, please, for Kingdom Hearts 3, because Miu has not played it.
Yeah.
It is...
You can talk about Dream Drop Distance, aka 3 Dicks.
It is so hard to talk about it, because there are some things in... There are some things in that game that I know you will find cool. That's all I'm gonna say.
Skrillex? I didn't really like the Skrillex song, to be honest.
Not the Skrillex song. I completely forgot Skrillex was a part of that.
I do know that they kind of bring back Flow Motion from 3 Dicks.
I'm not gonna fucking say anything. There's just some things in that game that I know you will find cool. So it's really hard to not...
I am this close to just buying it at full price off of Epic, but I don't want to give them money.
Yeah, okay. So, Squeenix...
The worst part is I actually have a PlayStation 4 copy, but I don't have a PlayStation 4 to play it on. It's more expensive to do a PlayStation 4 than a fucking...
3 Dicks is the greatest subtitle for a game ever. I mean, it was just abbreviated 3D, because it was the one on the 3DS, which I think was clever marketing, but yeah.
Wait, no.
Dick Drop. Dream Drop. Yeah, it's...
My bad. I was too hung up on the dick.
Like always, what else is new? So, Square Enix has announced that, getting back to this shit. I
like how, like, Square Enix came up and we just went on a ramble about Kingdom Hearts because Kingdom Hearts.
Because Kingdom Hearts, yes, and
Kingdom Hearts.
I promise I'm very normal about it. Don't look at my search history. No, Square Enix announced that they're going to be going multi-platform. They're going to finally break this agreement with Sony about, like, timed exclusivity, and things are just going to start multi-platform. Unfortunately, going back into seeing the big bloat in things because of COVID, going back to the first of the Final Fantasy VII remakes, there was obviously like a major uptick in sales because it was a remake of the most successful Final Fantasy game. If you don't count, I think 15 might have actually outsold it, and 14 is still making them tons of money. But like classically speaking, Final Fantasy 7 is considered the best one. So remaking that one was fucking huge. And then they released the two topics whenever Square is involved, Final Fantasy or KH. Yeah, no, that is that.
And then Nier Automata for the avid Robo Booty zealots.
Praying that I could. no, that's me praying for Robo Booty. That's me praying for. But God, my fucking train of thought.
Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 16 is the release. They did the remake of Final Fantasy
7. So they noticed a downward trend with the with the second part of the Final Fantasy 7 remake that came. Wasn't that just this year, like a few months ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They noticed that not as many people bought it.
But on a segue.
The issue here is that, again, like every game company, they want to see the upward trend that COVID was providing them. The issue here is that it is, technically speaking, a sequel. It is the second half of the remake of a single game, but it is a sequel. So you want more people to buy the second game in what might be a trilogy, maybe a I think it's just going to be a trilogy. I think it's just going to be 3.
Trilogy.
Yeah.
Like,
but
I can see the 3 pieces of it being a homage to the original, because the original was 3 discs. I always get it mixed up with Legend of the Dragoon, which was 4 discs. But at the same time, it still feels kind of like annoying to have it, but at the same time, with how vast they're making it in this day and age with these graphics, it would be more than the 300 gigabyte Call of Duty Warzone fiasco if it was all one game.
Because
instead, I hope they kind of release like a full version.
Like a physical collection of all the discs or something, or
no, just like a one-click and download for 500 gigabytes of Cloud being hot, and then you can just play the game without having to boot up the next game.
But yeah, so basically they wanted more people to buy the sequel, and it's the most, like, when you say it out loud, it's the most asinine thing ever, where it's like, oh, the first one sold really well, we want the second one to sell better. Like, in my head, it's gonna be diminishing returns, because you're not gonna have new people jump into the second one who didn't play the first one. Like, Final Fantasy is known for being, you can play Final Fantasy 15 or 16 without having played any of the other ones. Like, that is what they're known for.
You can't play the second 7 without the first 7, especially because it doesn't follow the original game to a T.
Exactly. And you can't play, like...
Segways didn't even exist when the original game was fucking conceived.
Yeah, Final Fantasy X-2. Would you play that?
There also was no dancing rhythm game. I did, actually.
You played Final Fantasy X-2 without playing 10-1?
And I haven't played 10.
Okay, I guess that kind of defeats the point I'm trying to make.
I did that, but no, it doesn't. I did that because I didn't have access to Final Fantasy X. I only had access to 10-2, and so I just played it because it's a video game. Final Fantasy game. I'm going to play it, and so I didn't know what the fuck was trying to find, but like I was with the Charlie's Angels till the end, man. I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't even really. I guess like maybe like if people pointed out to me, I could see some of the issues with the game, but I had no fucking issues with the game outside of the 3 playthroughs, the 100% thing.
Sorry, I was trying to find my fucking place again. God, we keep getting sidetracked. I'm okay.
Sorry, there's so much to talk about with like Final Fantasy, man.
Basically, just getting into the logistics, Square Enix has been really disappointed with their last couple of releases on PlayStation. Final Fantasy 16 didn't sell the way they wanted it. It's right here. It's right here in the subline. Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth didn't really work out. So these games are selling like crazy, reviewing incredibly well. It's just not making the money that they want them to. So what do? Layoffs. They have announced layoffs this week, as well as going multi-platform, which
is like a little unfortunate.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it fucking sucks.
if they could have waited it out, like, you know what I mean? If they could have waited it out and done like Nintendo, it's just like, alright, we're getting less profits, we're just gonna keep paying our people, give the top a little bit less, and then do this multi-platform thing for our next, like, bunch of releases that were supposed to be exclusive, and they'd probably see an uptick. Because the other thing is, a lot of the hype, when you really, so like, when it comes to like visual novels and stuff like that, right? Like, when a visual novel for having like, because like a lot of visual novels do have hentai. Not all visual novels are erotic games, but a lot of erotic games are visual novels. So like when they try to release one that has that erotic stuff in it, and like 18 plus scenes in it, if it gets like, you know, banned off Steam and they try to like resubmit like another one, like resubmit it again just for like you know, the developer submits it and then the publisher submits it, and if both of them get like denied, then yeah, so sometimes they'll push back release dates, because when there's hype about a release but then it doesn't release on like one of the bigger platforms, for example Borderlands 3, when it only released on Epic, and then after it was on Steam, it was already like 50% off, 50% off, 50% off out the gate, because if it's not on people's preferred platform, they're going to lose hype for it. They're going to watch it on Twitch and get all of the content that they want out of it, and maybe decide they're not going to play it later on in life. But if they actually do, like, you know, if it's like, for the visual novels, if it's on a smaller site like DL or JoRen, or a site that that isn't, you know, that's already only known for niche people, they're going to lose a lot of like the hype from the sale because people can't get it on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, it's a very similar concept where it's like, if it's not on people's preferred platform off the rip, then they're going to like lose some of the hype. Mm-hmm. And like some of that, like some of the gas from going to the release date. It's like, oh wait, I can't get it on here, then I'm just not going to bother, and then
which
it dies down.
I've always been, even though, you know, I love singing the praises of PlayStation exclusive games. You know, I love God of War, Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank. I always sing the praises of these games. The more accessible you make games to an audience, the better it's going to be received. Like, I genuinely think when you put time and effort into your art, your passion, all these developers working to make Final Fantasy or working to make God of War, the more accessible you make it, the better. The more people that get to experience your game is only a bonus, is only a win. So, I don't know, like, I have never really been a fan of console exclusivity, even as a kid, when there was still kind of that tribalistic, you know, mindset of like, I'm team PlayStation, I'm team Xbox. Yeah, I'm team, you know, Nintendo versus Sega and shit like that. First of all, the console wars were bullshit. Again, it's all just people trying to fight for your money, you know, but it was so hard as a kid, trying to articulate to my Xbox friends as a PlayStation person. It's like, if only you could play this game to understand why I like it so much. Because they, you know, it's like, it's like, PlayStation doesn't have these games that I like. How can you like PlayStation? And it's like, well, if you could play them with a PlayStation, I would be able to articulate better, because I'm a child and I don't have words for these things.
Sega being an Xbox stand is just a red flag in general, because not only is the Xbox more relevant, the only thing that was on it to begin with was just like FPS games, which you could play on PlayStation anyway, except for Halo.
I mean, Halo, Gears of War.
Left 4 Dead was exclusive. I do remember that, but then, like, you know, PC gaming was a thing, so it was on PC.
Truly, the problem with putting Square games as PS even is foolish. I understand that the game doesn't exist without PlayStation, like how Nintendo's why. Yeah, Genesis had blast processing. Yeah, it's. But what about the Saturn? What about the Saturn, dude? What happened with the Saturn? Sorry.
I mean, they really wouldn't if they don't exist anymore outside of Nintendo.
I'm just razzing them. Xbox has a problem with throwing money at something without understanding why it's popular. Xbox has a problem with Game Pass. so people like to argue that Game Pass is like their biggest moneymaker. Dreamcast. Fuck. People people like to say that Game Pass is Xbox's biggest moneymaker when that's not the case. They have never once said that it is actively like boosting their profits. It is making enough to keep itself sustainable for now, because they have a problem with any of their new games. They'll throw up day one on Game Pass to try and get more people on Game Pass to make it financially viable. But all they're doing is losing money because nobody's buying these games. Nobody's buying their games when it's just on Game Pass.
You know gamers, they'll marathon in 100% a game within the first week.
Mm-hmm. Especially if they're, like, passionate about it. But, I mean, I think Xbox, especially back in the day, Xbox had its exclusives, had its time. I can think of a couple, like, Xbox exclusive platformers. I can think of a couple, like, even into the 360 era. Like, it had some games where I was like, oh, I wish I could play that, but never enough for me to, like, actively want an Xbox. But I digress. The Saturn failed because Sega announces releasing the same day that E3 retailers pissed off wouldn't carry the consoles or games. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I remember that. And then immediately after wasn't it like right after that Saturn conference with E3 was when the PlayStation was announced, and that he just went on stage and was like $299 and just left. He just announced the price of the original PlayStation and left. So fucking good. Yeah, no, so I think this is a net positive. I really hope everybody that got laid off lands on their feet. I hope they find good positions at other companies that care about them.
There is a really big gaming industry in Japan in general, so hopefully they'll be able to find something, especially if they're coming from Square Enix. Yeah. A lot of people would love to pick up devs from a company like that. Gaming is huge in Japan.
They weren't specific on which department they cut from. I don't know if it is developers.
Oh yeah, okay.
They literally could have just cut like marketing people, which I don't know. It's totally up in the air as to like they never disclose that shit. Whenever there's a layoff, they just say that we laid off X number of employees, but they never tell you specifically what department they came from, which is so unfortunate. I forget Square is technically multimedia because their games are so popular. Yeah.
Their games are popular, but they have like anime, they have movies.
Yeah, like Advent Children.
Yeah.
Oh, this is down here. This is also kind of going into it's talking about like PlayStation exclusives and stuff. It can find its multi-platform publisher with Helldivers. Helldivers is something to talk about.
Oh boy, here we go.
I don't have anything pulled up for Helldivers.
Helldivers and sushi, right?
Helldivers is what?
Boy. Well, because wait, there's always like the pirate software short, right? But okay. Did I even post any Helldivers? I don't think I did because we talked about that so long ago.
Basically, hopefully the layoffs were part of the NFT division. Haven't heard any updates from that sector in a hot minute. Oh yeah, I hope that sector is gone.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, everybody knows Helldivers 2. And the lack of understanding satire. We're not even talking about that. But yeah, no, Helldivers 2. Big online game. People are loving it. It's making so much money for everybody involved, and it's a great time. It's cheaper than a new price AAA game. You know, good for everybody involved. They have a big popular game on their hands, and then Sony fucked it. Basically, how it was presented was when Helldivers 2, this is just a quick synopsis for people who might not have seen this or, didn't hear about everything that's been going on. Helldivers 2, when it launched on PlayStation and Steam, I think. PlayStation and PC. And they basically said, hey, as an optional thing, you can link your PSN account, your PlayStation account, with your Steam account. You can link these two things, and you'll have better matchmaking, or you can play with friends across the the across systems, multi-platform. You can play with your PlayStation friend on Steam and stuff. Like here's some
Here's
but it's
Sorry,
optional.
I'm just posting.
Yeah, it's okay. But they basically launched the game by saying it's optional. Then earlier this month, they were like, it's not going to be optional for much longer. And basically what happened was, what was it, like 130 countries? 170 countries?
I just posted that. Oh no, the Wario 64 doesn't give the actual number of countries.
I'm just going to say over 100. Over 100.
It was definitely over 100 because I think Sony PlayStation is only available in 66 or 70 countries.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 200 and something or other. I don't know. Somebody else telling you.
Yeah,
Google it.
Yeah, Greeno saying 170. So yeah, 170 countries don't have access to PSN. So what did PlayStation do? They delisted the game. I
think it was actually Steam that did that. So like when it came to this, right? A lot of the discourse was like, hold on, I don't want to have to make a Sony account for this, and there was people going, oh, it's just like 5 minutes to make an email and password, and then. So it started around like that, and people just being like, you know what, even if people had hundreds of hours in the game already, Steam was offering these refunds because they understood that terms had changed and not everybody is going to agree to these terms. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to be blocked off a game because they don't want to do something, Steam being usually based, refunded all of these people, even though they had more than like 10 hours in the game. Alongside that, some people were pointing out, well, PSN isn't available in my country, so I'm going to have to, basically, commit fraud in order to make an account, which can get me permanently banned off of Sony if you do that.
Yup.
Like VPN shit. And then that's when it came out that, yeah, the whole countries thing. Alongside that, the community manager in the Discord for Helldivers was just like, well, if you don't like what's going on, you can just leave a bad review and get the game refunded, I guess. Which led to the last article, no, not the... Oh, no, did I post this one? I don't think I posted this one yet. I posted it in the Discord, but not in thing. That community manager promptly got fired.
Which, I agree with, hey, review the game based on your experience. If you have a bad experience, leave a review saying so. But also, it makes complete sense that this person got fired. I know people were rallying behind them, I can't believe that community shouldn't be managing shit. Yeah, I get people who are but they were just, speaking the truth. People were rallying behind this person. When your job is to sell people on a game and you're telling people don't buy it, review bomb us. I get why they were let go. I get it.
So after this whole thing, Sony backtracked their decision. However, they did pull a fast one over us. And Pirate Software in the short does go into it. It was basically already delisted in all of those countries and stuff like that by Sony themselves. I think Steam did some of the delisting because they realized, well, if this is going to be the conditions for the game, we can't sell it in these countries because these people in these countries are not going to be able to play it, so why are we going to sell it there, right? But then afterwards, after Sony had announced, fine, we're not going to do it, they just delisted it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
they went back on that, saying, okay, no, you don't need to make a PSN account, but the game is still delisted in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Even though that requirement that would have meant they couldn't play it is gone now.
Which kind of feels very... I don't know if it's racially charged, but it feels racially charged. Because it's how do you have a company that big? Steam's in all of those countries. Nintendo's in all of those fucking countries.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't PlayStation there? What the fuck? You know, like, it's something I would have never thought of because of how, like, you know, gaming is everywhere across, like, a whole bunch of countries, and a lot of people play games. Even if, like, you know, they learn how to speak English just to play some games and stuff like that, because maybe that hasn't been translated in their language, but it's still available in their country and stuff like that. So it's just something a lot of people that has access to the stuff doesn't think about the fact that, why can't I make an account for this over in this country? What?
That just comes down to PlayStation's resources and what they want. Has to do with certain restrictions. Xbox is in even fewer for various reasons. Yeah, it might have to do with restrictions based on like what is up on the PlayStation storefront. Because like Nintendo is more, Steam is less regulated, and if you have an internet access, you can basically get Steam anywhere. Nintendo is way more...
kind of like okay with that though, and they try to be available everywhere anyway. They at least put an effort, right?
Yeah, Nintendo is more family friendly, even though there's definitely some things on the Switch.
Another Russia Blade.
There's some stuff on the Switch store where it's like, how did this get through? Like, you see, like, rated MA for, you know, all those, like, nudity, sexual themes, and it's like...
Yeah, like all these hentai puzzle games that don't actually show nipples and shit as well. As well as, fuck, what was it? There's, like, this one, I think it's, like, Dengeki Love or Electric Love or some shit like that. I've mentioned it before, but it's, like, basically you get to, like, pretend you're on phone calls with Gravure idols. And, like, you get to, like, look at their photos and unlock their photos and, like, have conversations with them or something like that. And it's, like, really fucking weird.
That's a very specific kind of lonely.
And it's also been on the Nintendo Switch store since at least 2018, if not before.
Yeah, but for the...
It's very old on these.
For the most part, Nintendo's brand is very family-friendly, very family-forward. So I can understand why Nintendo's available in more countries than Sony or Xbox.
I don't really mind it about the Nintendo, though, because it's very open for indie devs to make games for their console, which I think is very friendly. They themselves can be family-friendly and can host stuff like My Neighbor Pedro. You know what I mean? And then My Neighbor Pedro has like another platform to be on, which is both good for Nintendo and good for the game. So I think, you know.
But yeah, so
it's just like it really doesn't make sense to me that PSN isn't there. Like Fox is losing relevance, has been losing relevance for a long time. So sure. Whatever, right?
They're
PlayStation?
They're trying to gain relevancy again, and we'll talk about Xbox in a second, but they're trying to gain relevancy again by putting some of their games, making some of their games cross-platform to try and lure people. Like, hey, if you like this, we have tons of stuff on Game Pass. There's tons of stuff on Xbox if you're playing, like, a game on PlayStation from Xbox. Like Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is, like, one of my favorite video games, and that's technically, like, an Xbox game that was put out on other platforms and was like, hey, if you like this game, you'll love other games from us.
Yeah,
but with what's going on with Sony, it just sucks because a lot of the a lot of the flack landed on the Helldivers team. Yeah, the Helldivers team. And did
Sony publish them? Is that what happened?
Yeah, Sony published this game. Which is why
which is why I was able to fuck around with them.
Yeah, it is a PlayStation console exclusive. Like
PlayStation PC LLC, yeah.
Yeah, it's not on it's like that. It's not on Xbox or anything. It's a it is. This is a PlayStation. This is a like PlayStation game that they co-launched, or they also launched on Steam as well, which, PlayStation has been doing that a little bit, getting more of their games on Steam. If they work, that's cool, but a lot of times they don't work. Looking at you, Last of Us. But it sucks because I want more people to be able to experience the games that people are making, especially if they're great games. And the fact that they just fucking delisted them. And it feels like they're trying to course correct on the review bombing, because when this came out that this is mandatory, they got review bombed by, for a very good reason.
They also had to issue tons of refunds.
but they basically changed the terms of conditions, against, drastically. They drastically changed terms and conditions to make something that was optional now mandatory, that affected a lot of people playing the game. And so they got bad reviews. So they went back on it. So, okay, the bad reviews are starting to go away. I think right now the game sits at mixed reviews on Steam. But it's
recent mixed, still positive overall.
Yeah, recent mix, positive overall. So they're slowly winning people back. The issue here is the games aren't the games aren't undelisted. The games aren't relisted in all those regions, even though they now could be, because it's just Steam.
Sony's taking it upon themselves to just continue what Steam had started.
Yeah, so don't let it fool you. It's still bad. All right.
It's bad.
I have one more tab open here.
Wait, what about the Ghost of Sushi thing?
What about it?
Isn't there like also a thing?
Oh, yes.
The director's cut or something.
They require you to be online for the director's cut coming out on PlayStation 5 and Steam. They require you to be connected online via PSN to play the game at all. There is an online function to Ghost of Tsushima, but there's also not. Like, you could play the game entirely single player. It's like a little more in depth than the because it has a Legends. Because it's got a it does have a small online component, but yeah, they're requiring PSN to play it at all, which is bullshit. You can play that game without any online. The online functionality is like, I don't want to say it's bad, but like, I'm certainly I looked at it.
There's access to a lot of friends, but I kind of want reality without the internet to hit people in the face someday.
Oh my god, right?
Yeah. Like the internet is a not right or privilege. I'm not a fucking parent. It's a convenience. It's not something that should, if things can be done offline, do them offline. Like,
yeah, like I still buy like physical tactile books when I can. I don't like reading on like a Kindle. I don't like reading off a screen or off my phone. If I'm gonna read, I'm gonna buy a book,
Yeah, the only reason I didn't do that in college was if the book wasn't available at the fucking school store.
Oh, don't spend money on like college textbooks. That's the most bullshit thing, because there
was an app I had that let you rent textbooks for 6 months, so that was like very convenient, especially since the semester is like less than 6 months, and then you wouldn't have access to like that ebook anymore. But the problem with it being an ebook is that it was an ebook and not a physical book, so I still have a lot of college textbooks because I need a physical book because I'm old.
Yeah, I still have a couple of my college textbooks, but for the most part, I had one. Oh my god, I had the most bullshit one I had was, it wasn't even like, oh, you can like rent like an old copy of the textbook, that's fine. The teacher was literally like, you need to buy a brand new copy of the textbook, because brand new copies come with this special code for a special website where I'm going to put assignments up. I'm not going to just like put the assignments up on the school's website that we all have access to. You're going to use this special website that is associated with the book, so you're going to have to spend an extra $50 on a brand new copy of this book.
You had that professor instead of the professor that's just like, make sure you do not use this website because this website is like not legal copies of textbooks, and sends an email to everybody so everybody can get the textbook for free.
Yes, I also had those professors. I had a professor who was straight up like, I believe it or not, I have a master's degree. As a college professor, I have a master's degree. I've been to college. I know how expensive it is, and I've seen inflation, so it's more expensive for y'all. Like, she was straight up
I am like a boomer. You are not. I was able to go for $20 in a goat. You have to pay $200,000 for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I am so thankful that I was able to get through college without student loans. I don't have debt, and a lot of it was just like scholarships and stuff.
You're smart.
Yeah. Well, so there was a very specific scholarship thing where I went to school for film, but it's not an art degree. It is technically a science major. I went to school for the science of filmmaking. It's like a bachelor's of applied science. So when we were doing all of that, it's like,
I guess all the technical shit, yeah, right?
yeah, so a lot of the scholarship stuff for sciences were a lot of like, send in a video of yourself talking about like what you would use the scholarship for, like what you're going to school for, why it interests you. Being a film major, I was able to film like with proper lighting and a good camera. I was able to film like an actual sale video, like selling myself to these scholarships, and it's like, look at the production value on just this thing that I'm filming. Like, I was
that must have been like fun too.
Yeah, I was kind of
like what you want to go to school for.
Yeah, no, I was kind of playing the game, and like I saw some of the other ones, and it was people just like on their phone being like, I'm going to school for this thing. Yeah.
Except Silver wants to be killed.
Yeah.
Apparently.
KFM. Thank you for that real quick. That nice little
low-key plug.
Low-key plug there. Kill All Film Majors, my film podcast with my friend John, where we just shoot the shit and talk about bad movies that we've seen. Yeah, so I think that's it for Helldivers.
I'm sure I fixed it, so the new Spotify link isn't attached to the YouTube link like it did already. Yeah, I fixed it. Okay, good.
Okay, cool.
I just kind of pasted it on, so it was one link that went nowhere.
It's a super link that goes nowhere. Is that it on Helldivers? Like, it's not the dev team's fault, it's 100% Sony.
It's 100% Sony and the one community manager, but the one community manager might have been the thing that like got Sony to back down, but even though they backed down, they didn't back down, so fuck Sony.
I don't even really blame that community manager. Like, in my opinion, they were being kind of based about it.
Maybe the community manager lived in a country where PSN wasn't available, so that's why they're so apathetic about it.
Oh, maybe.
No clue though.
Yeah,
I mean, like I'm pretty sure they were just the Discord community manager.
Yeah.
Not like fucking like office work. So like from Discord, you could live fucking anywhere.
But
you live in Antarctica for fuck's sake.
What a world we live in, where you can be paid to be a Discord mod and you're labeled a community manager.
Yeah.
What a world we live in.
Being called a Discord mod has stigma for good reason.
Better than a Reddit mod. All right, I have one tab left open, and it's kind of a 1-2 because Xbox has been busy.
Yep.
Xbox has been busy.
Yep. I guess the biggest topic for last, because there's a lot here.
So Xbox has been the biggest. I mentioned earlier that big companies made big money because of COVID. Xbox was the #1 company to be like, we have so much money now, because they were probably making a lot more money off of Game Pass when people who didn't even have consoles were able to just be like, I want to play games. Oh, I can get Xbox app on my PC that make me play game? Okay. So they were probably making tons of money off of Game Pass, and so Xbox was the biggest company to be like, we have so much money, let's buy a bunch of companies. And there was an executive, I can't remember her name. I feel bad I can't remember her name, but there was an executive at Xbox who basically literally said, we bought up all these companies with no plan on how to manage them. It was a complete failing on Xbox's part, and they finally fucking copped to it. So this month, Xbox closed 3 studios. One of them I had never heard of, Alpha Dog. They make...
It's just mobile games, so it's not like they mattered in the first place.
Some people like mobile games. People like...
Yeah, plus, I mean, like, the devs and the artists and all that stuff are, like, doing what they can do, but it's still just mobile games.
Yeah, like, I liked Sinnoh Alice, Nier, Reincarnation. My partner, big, like, Fire Emblem Heroes fan. Like, there's some mobile games, but not all. Most of the time,
Fire Emblem Heroes is like the worst power creep in gacha, from what I've heard.
Oh, it's awful. She was showing me some of the shit. It went from... She was showing me some of the, like, oh, here's what the units looked like at launch. Here's what they look like now. And it is fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Text. They had to put a scrolling feature on the unit card to scroll through all of the text. It is atrocious. It's bad. But yeah, so they closed Alpha Dog. I don't know anything that they've made. They closed
Not to be confused with the song Off the Dog by Fall Out Boy.
which goes so fucking hard.
Ah,
I fucking love Alpha Dog.
good song.
I'm glad somebody said it. I was thinking it. They closed Arcane Austin, which their most recent game was Redfall, which was straight to Game Pass day one. It was a mid-as-hell vampire game, from what I understand. Not to be confused with Arcane Lyon, who I think it's Lyon or Lion. Lyon. It's a place. I think it's Lyon.
I thought it was. I don't fucking know. No, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stupid. I'm stupid.
I think it's pronounced Lyon.
They're doing another. They're doing. Well, they're still doing a vampire game. Blade.
I don't know if it was Arcane Austin or Arcane Lyon that was doing the Blade game.
No, it's the one that's still open. Is still doing the Blade game.
Yes. Kind of neutral to this, considering the habit of buying studios. I am not neutral on this because Xbox needs to fucking stop it. I don't care about their ambition. It's greed. It's monopolistic. It's disgusting. They are sapping up the market, and then
Why don't the companies just not sell to them because they know their company's gonna get closed in a year and a half anyway?
a lot.
Like, do they really want their legacy to be gone, or is it?
A lot of companies.
No, the CEOs are walking around.
Here's the thing. So
migrate offices. So I guess that's it.
Here's the thing. The third studio that they closed, Tango Gameworks, been opening the studio. They need to stop buying shit. So the last studio that closed, Tango Gameworks, they did Hi-Fi Rush last year. Very like look, that's the Hi-Fi Rush boy right there. That's Hi-Fi Rush. So the founder of Tango Gameworks, fuck, I can't remember his name and I feel really bad. I'm just gonna look it up real quick on my phone. Basically, he started at Capcom and he was the director of the first Resident Evil game. He produced all the Resident Evil games up until 0. Like he did 2, 3, Code Veronica. He directed 4. He was the director of the first Devil May Cry game. He directed the first couple Dino Crisis games. Like, he did a lot for Capcom. He left He left Capcom and went to Oh, let me just look him up. I'm not gonna try and remember the rest off the top of my head, but this guy has been in the industry for a long fucking time and just decided to go independent. He was just like, no, you know what? Like, I want to be in charge of my own games for once. And he started Tango Gameworks. They did Evil Within 2, but Hi-Fi Rush was the most recent one. And I think the reason these companies sell to big companies like Xbox is because there, at least at the time, was a notion of stability. Did Grape? Did have a bad trip, see Vid.
Like, we think it did great, but again, it was like free on PSN and then free on day one Game Pass. So it didn't actually do great. It reviewed well and people loved it and it was a hit and a sensation, but it didn't do good enough for Xbox's standards, even though Xbox shot themselves in the foot in the first place. Like, rather than realizing that Game Pass is actually the problem,
it was founded by Shinji, where'd it go? Shinji Mikami, who worked on Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, he made God Hand, which is like a cult classic, beat 'em up. Oh, he worked for Platinum Games after Capcom. Like, this guy has worked for big fucking companies. But yeah, I'm sorry, finish your point. Sorry.
No, I think that was it.
Oh, okay. The reason
now thinking about Platinum Games and Robo Booty again.
The reason, he's awesome. But I think the reason these companies, like, I asked the same question when Double Fine. I love Double Fine. Like, they did Psychonauts. They did I can see Grim Fandango. They did a game called Rad, which was really fun. They did just a bunch of really fun games. Brutal Legends with Jack Black.
Hey.
Yeah, they do they do tons of fun games. But I think the reason these smaller companies sell to Xbox or sell to PlayStation is because there's a conceived notion of stability. When you're a small studio that is only developer, not your own publisher, You're making a game waiting for somebody to be... No. Double Fine did not close. Double Fine did not close. I was just concerned when Double Fine was bought out by Xbox. I had the same concerns when Xbox bought Double Fine back in like 2020, 2021.
At least Toys for Bob, like, just bought themselves back.
Exactly, but...
It's like, hey, do you want to close us, or do you want to take a bit of money and let us leave?
I think it might have come down to that. I think the reason they sold... I think I mentioned this when I heard that they... I think I was playing, like, Alan Wake or something when I first heard that they went independent. I think it did come down to, there are closures on the horizon. Let's buy ourselves back quick. Because they closed the offices and everybody was working from home. And at that point, the writing's on the wall. If they close your office, get out. Get out of there quick. But there's a conceived notion of like, okay, cool, we don't have to hunt for a publisher anymore. We could just make the games we want, and our sugar daddy will publish our games for us. But Miss Vicarious...
Yeah, but then Toys for Bob has like a name now, so they could just self-publish.
Yeah.
Vicarious Visions, yeah.
I miss Vicarious Visions too. They got... I don't even remember... They got renamed to something else, but it's one of those things where they got renamed to bigger...
It's
like...
kind of weird though that Naughty Dog still exists and had nothing to do with the Crash remakes.
It's because they don't own the games. Like, Insomniac, who made the Spyro games, never owned Spyro.
What?
It was owned by Universal, the publishing company.
Oh!
Which is why, like, Universal, who still owned Spyro, was able to pass it on to other game companies, and, like, Eidos... no, it wasn't Eidos. It was, the people who made, like, Enter the Dragonfly, Hero's Tale,
Hero's Tale is good, Dragonfly we don't talk about. Where is the other two bosses? Why did he bring Gulp and Crush with him if you don't have to fight Gulp and Crush?
It was ridiculous, yeah.
I actually thought I had glitched the game out and had access to like the rest of the game without fighting the bosses because there was something wrong with the game, not because they just didn't make that part of the game.
They just didn't make that part. I think, and there's a whole... I've done my deep dive research. There's a delisted video on my YouTube channel that was like a half-hour long thing of me. Like, I did research. I did a fucking like video essay on Spyro 4 probably in like 2017, 2018. It has since been delisted. Please don't go looking for it. I don't think it exists anymore. No, it's genuinely it's gone. But there was a whole thing with Spyro 4's development that was really shaky, and then publisher was pushing, like, Universal wanted it out by the holiday season. It needed at least another year to cook. I don't blame the developers for that at all. They really tried. But getting back to Xbox, speaking of shitty publishers, so they closed Tango Gameworks, which was doing really well. People liked Evil Within. People loved Hi-Fi Rush. The same week, they close these studios, and then the same week, an executive at Xbox says, we need to be focusing on smaller games that earn us awards, not big games that make us money. What? Didn't you just close a game? Didn't you just close a studio that made a small game?
That did that.
Yeah. So success means nothing to Xbox.
Do not start buying indie companies. Do not buy Supergiant. Please leave Supergiant alone. Leave all of the That's very scary. That's very scary because now they're going to be like, oh look, indie studio made one game, and now we're going to take them and make them make another game, and that game will or will not do well, but we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot and then close them, which means no more Hades.
I legitimately...
If they were to buy... I feel like Supergiant might not go that... I don't even know if Supergiant's owned by anybody or anything like that, but basically, like, that's how that feels to me. That feels like they're going to be targeting eating... Like, it's gonna be like Pac-Man, but the balls are just fucking...
companies.
Like, indie studios.
Yeah. Trying to...
Like, maybe they buy, like, the 3 people who worked on Hollow Knight and cancel Silksong because they haven't done Silksong yet. That sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's
a lot of bad things that could happen.
Literally the only thing I can take away from this is that Xbox does not want to be successful. Because whenever a game... It seems like... I don't know where
I don't think they deserve to be.
I don't know where the bar is anymore. because they closed a studio that made a small game that won them lots of awards. It won tons of best sound design, best soundtrack awards. Stylistically, it's a beautiful game. It reviewed well. Its budget compared to what it made, it sold very well. Yes, it was free on a bunch of platforms, but like people still bought it. You know what I mean? Random bullshit, go replace that with money. Exactly. But they closed the studio, and then it feels like the next day they're just like, hey, so we need more games like Hi-Fi Rush. Okay, then why did you close the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush? What are you talking about?
Sometimes I wish there was a word that was stronger than stupid. Because they're just stupid. They're just stupid. They're literally just stupid. Like, you look in their eyes and nothing's there.
Absolutely nothing behind those eyes. No thoughts, head empty. Rattling it around like a piggy bank. But the same month, this is very recently, 3 days ago at the time of this live stream, they announced they're opening a new studio. So they closed 3 studios, and they're opening another one. Please welcome Elsewhere. So this is a studio self-described or described by Activision. So this is a subsidiary company for Activision, which is owned by, which is part of ActiBliz, which is owned by Xbox. It's a company within a company within a company. Built from the ground up, Elsewhere Entertainment...
Let's go. Horrible things.
Built from the ground up, Elsewhere Entertainment is a premier standalone studio dedicated to establishing an environment that inspires bold and diverse ideas. What this... I'm sorry, go on.
No, I was just going on. Continue.
How this reads to me, so... they're
already getting ahead of themselves by saying we're guaranteeing, this is going to be the thing of the future now.
Yeah, it's like, this is our mission statement, It feels...
Wait, they're the Netflix of gaming. Where they just, put something out and then cancel it immediately?
That's how it fucking feels. But it reads to me like... And this was part of the quote. Again, I don't have the quote readily available, but this executive who said that, they bought the companies without a plan to actually manage them. They wanted to free up, guarantee someone going to the bathroom would have more ideas than them. Just fucking shower thoughts would be more bold and diverse. But they closed...
I think you can get better ideas from r/sink pissers than you could from Xbox.
They closed these studios.
It's a real R, by the way. I've been there.
They closed these studios because they couldn't manage them. They had no way of actually managing these teams because Xbox is American-based, Tango Softworks, Japan-based. They had no way of properly managing a team across waters like that. So they closed these studios and they took all of those resources and lumped it into one company at the expense of 3 companies worth of jobs. And now there's this hiring thing going on for this new company, most likely. So imagine you
You're not even taking people, you're just taking the resources, and now those people have to apply for a chance to have a job of what they were doing before.
Imagine you worked a desk job. You were happy there. Imagine you were happy with your job. And the company said, the building isn't ours anymore. You have to go work somewhere else. And then the next day you see a help wanted sign on the door. And now you're vying with 100 other people to get your desk back. That's how it feels. And in terms of...
A red stapler. Just burn it down.
Dedicated to establishing an environment that inspires bold and diverse ideas.
I feel also one thing I want to go into with this too is could you scroll up a bit? What really defines a AAA title game? Because, like, this AAA title thing, AAA... Yeah, because they're already saying, like, this is going to be, like, a AAA franchise, it's going to be top of the line, like, cream of the crop, and AAA is supposed to be cream of the crop, and all I'm seeing from AAA is bullshit, dropping the ball, and bullshit.
Is it going to be genre-defining AAA franchises, or is it a premier standalone studio? Which is it? Because when I hear AAA, I imagine it's like, you know, a well-established developer pairing up with a well-established publisher, like Activision, Xbox. If they make a game together, that's going to be AAA. It's a budgetary thing. You know, however much budget goes into the game, that defines how many A's it gets.
Yeah, but, like, so much budget went into Starfield, and look at that.
Yeah.
So is it still AAA?
Yeah. That's a AAA
because
game.
It's a piece. Yeah, but it's a piece of shit, right? Like AAA is supposed to be cream of the crop.
No.
So like this is what I mean with like AAA just being a red flag to me because all I can see and all I can hear is either like, you know, stuff I'm not interested in, which is just a personal thing. But in terms of like the photorealistic fucking Western stories, like I'm a fucking weeb, whatever, right? We can leave that aside though. The actual red flags are overpriced, piece of shit with a million DLCs coming. You know, just a shit drop the ball game with a million DLCs coming that I'm not going to be able to afford to keep up with, so, like, it's just not, like, I just stay away from AAA unless I know I'm interested. Like Cloud Stripe's... Never mind.
Cloud Stripe's well-defined pectorals.
Yeah.
Just to say it in a more civil way. His gorgeous titties. AAA is no longer a badge of quality. Yeah, I think it's such a fucking roulette because there are still AAA titles that I'm enjoying. Like,
I'm not saying like that they're all bad, right? It's just like that's what I meant when I said it. Like, it's a red flag. It's just like I'm never gonna be able to afford this shit. I don't really want to be able to afford this shit. What do you mean the game's not even done and I'm paying $177 for it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and a lot of the time the communities for those games are the, like, communities, especially, like, people who aren't white cishet males want to stay away from. So it's like, AAA gaming is just a red flag, and it's stick with, like, indie and Japanese.
Technically Resident Evil is AAA. Yeah, and I love RE8. RE8 is probably one of my favorite, like, quote-unquote, like, horror games. Like, to me, it's just a really fun, like, arcadey first-person shooter. I love RE8. But, like, I would consider Tango Gameworks. They made a couple of games that those games got around. Like, I would say Evil Within and Hi-Fi Rush. They got around via word of mouth. They were reviewed really well, but there wasn't a huge marketing push for these games. But people really liked them, so they gained traction and got really popular because people were playing them and recommending them and saying, these games are really good, please play them. So I would consider that to be more like a AA because it feels more like an indie vibe being pushed by a AAA publisher. So meet in the middle, I would say that's like a AA. I would say Hi-Fi Rush was a AA game because it wasn't released at full price of $60, $70. I think it was 40 or 50 USD upon release, and I bought it for like 30.
I mean, things like these two just go to show if you give the budget to a small, passionate team, they're going to create something amazingly wonderful. And, like, I think that's why there's specific developers, like, I think, like, Devolver Digital, for example, where they do put a lot of love into these people and into these series. Like, Gungeon, Miami, Hades, I think they were also the publisher for Isaac, right? Like, publishing is a little bit predatory, but at the same time, Devolver Digital hypes these games up. Like when those Phantom Abyss, I think it's called, where it's like a first-person Indiana Jones kind of race through the fucking roguelike. It was really fun to watch. It was really fun for me to watch.
Devolver Digital has just
they used to do...
Devolver Digital as a publisher just has this finesse for finding really passionate people with a really good idea.
Yeah, and then giving them the funding and the push to become really successful. And the thing is like, Devolver Digital has a Twitch, and when Phantom Abyss came out, they had, like, you know, streamers go against each other and kind of like race through like temple seeds and stuff like that. So they were pushing these games, and they're actually